Let's settle for the news now. Thank you for staying. And the minority in Parliament says it will not back down on its motion of censure seeking to remove Finance Minister Kpenoe. The motion, which is currently listed on the order paper as a notice, will be ripe for debate next week. Parliamentary correspondent Kpenoe Asante has the rest of the story.
Speaking on the floor of the House, Minority Leader Haruna Idrisu declared that the side will see the motion to its logical conclusion and called on the NPP MPs to support the move.
This side, we do not have the minimum threshold to succeed in a censure, but I'm also well aware that voting on this matter will be secret and will be by secret ballot. And I'm aware that there are reasonable people opposite the aisle who share our position but are afraid to be seen offending the president. Mr. Speaker, as for this motion, I am determined so long as I live and I'm alive. And I've issued a 9-line whip 3 times 3. All my members, even if we are defeated on this motion, we will be defeated in honor and in dignity, standing with the Ghanaian people who are suffering.
Responding to the minority leader, Majority Leader Osei Chairman Sabonsu said they will continue to dialogue with NDC MPs to find a common ground on the matter.
Mr. Speaker, the minority leader is saying that he wants some assurance that maybe the finance minister may be on the 31st of December. And if he has that assurance, he may think that it may not then be necessary to pursue this. It's a window of opportunity that is creating. Mr. Speaker, we are in dialogue, we are talking, we are trying to see the best way forward.
So the motion for censure against the finance minister is still on the order paper. It has been listed as a notice, and next week that 7-day notice period would have elapsed, and the minority leader or any member of that side may move the motion, after which it will be debated and a vote will be taken by secret. Remember, Finance Minister Kpenoe is entitled to be heard in his own defense within the specific issues that the minority are raising against him. He can do so himself or may elect a lawyer. That is the contention of the Deputy Majority Leader, Alexander Afenyo-Markin. And that is where he has some concerns.
Under our own jurisprudence on contempt, we allow the contemnor, the respondent contemnor, to be represented by counsel. And we have precedence in that. Because he is entitled to be heard. Right to fair hearing is a sine qua non thing. You cannot take it away from a respondent in a matter.
For JoyNews, Kpenoe Asante, Parliament House, Accra.
Meanwhile, Minority Leader Haruna Idrisu is berating government for what he says is its reckless borrowing. He describes President Akufo-Addo's claims that there will be no haircut on investment as false.
Borrowing is a policy. You decide to borrow, and you decide how much to borrow, and where to direct the borrowing as an investment. So if you now borrow to the level of debt distress, to the level of unsustainable debt, to the level that you are now talking about ratio of 105% of GDP as your debt level, and then he, Nana Addo Dankwa, the President of the Republic, added that he hopes that Ghana's debt to GDP will improve to 55% of GDP by 2028. We ask the question, where will he be? Where will he be? Even though we are not convinced that he can even manage this with any superior debt strategy, as was done by John Dramani Mahama and the NDC. You all recall his State of the Nation address, the first of his in 2017. He said 120 billion was colossal. So to mark his words, 450 billion borrowing is not colossal. He also said that, and ladies and gentlemen of the media, mark my words here, President Nana Addo Dankwa, in his attempt to rebut President John Dramani Mahama, and our ranking member, the Honorable Atuforsen, on debt and its management and sustainability, dismissed the argument of a haircut. He was categorical that there will be no haircut. We are assuring the people of Ghana, we are assuring investors, people with savings, people with investment in instruments, that there will be a barber of a sort. Probably that barber will be Kpenoe barber. There will be a barber of a sort, but that barber will be Kpenoe of a sort barber. Whether it affects domestic investment or domestic instrument, we are giving you only 14 days from today. You will hear from them publicly, effort to restructure our unsustainable debt.
Now, the youth of the Kpenoe traditional area in the home municipality of the VALCO region have lamented the bad nature of their access roads. They are asking government to channel resources toward the construction of the road or face their wrath. The Kpenoe road, which links the area to the VALCO regional capital, Ho, is one of the few untarred roads in the municipality. There is more in the following report put together by Fred Kwame.
The Kpenoe road was awarded for construction about 6 years ago. After some work was done on the drains at some sections, the contractor left the site due to the lack of funds to undertake the project. The stretch, which served as a major route for the transport of farm produce from surrounding communities to Ho, continues to deteriorate. The bad state of the road has become a great worry to residents in the Kpenoe traditional area who called on the government to give it attention during a press conference. Divine Ganyo is the convener for the youth.
Almost a year ago, there was a press release concerning our roads from Ho through to Kpenoe to Takla to the appropriate authorities. Unfortunately, the appropriate authorities turned a deaf ear to our plight as far as our roads are concerned. Once again, we want to use this medium to appeal to the authorities to fix our roads immediately. Failure to do so will warrant the wrath of the youth of Kpenoe.
He also expressed disappointment in the unwillingness of some traditional authorities to support development of the community.
JoyNews 2022 is a homecoming event to raise funds and bring togetherness. Dutor is against initiatives that will bring development into the community, that is JoyNews drilled mechanized boreholes. This we do not understand. So therefore, we presume that he is against the development in the Kpenoe community. With all these points raised, we want to state categorically, we will not respond to his calls again as youth of Kpenoe community until he comes back to the community and plead to make peace with us.
It is the hope of the youth that the traditional authorities would be united and support development initiatives to propel the growth of Kpenoe. Fred Kwame, JoyNews, Kpenoe.
Residents of Atebubu, Amantin municipality in the Bono East region have described their roads as nightmarish and want government to fix it. JoyNews' correspondent Kpenoe Kuma has been to the area.
The chiefs and residents of the 5 communities poured their frustrations over the delayed rehabilitation of the 32-kilometer road. JoyNews' Bono East regional correspondent Kpenoe visit to the area revealed that the road is bumpy, dusty and riddled with potholes, while erosion has eaten large portions of it, rendering it difficult and dangerous to travel on. Evelyn Efa, a 20-year-old lady, is a victim of an accident on the road. She lost her arm as a result of an accident she suffered while traveling with her mother on the Atebubu Seneso road when she was in class 6.
na ebuye na mo dim ko kumasi jin na mo ko twaso nta be play na me kwa de mensa ne buye na mo ko twa mensa no na de me ba si o kasi doctor ni ba ko me hwe me doctor ni nso kwan ni nti wanti mi amba mensa nti nda bibia me kwa pom da bia ma me kwa pom na waja me ho no na me kwa me tifie dwan kwa me dia me ntimi ndia dwan bia ti mesrem wa mo mbae nya duru classes ya na me play no man ti anto azubi na pese me yenda sini na ne ya adwuma manage ho pa me ko school nyina adwuma manage ho pa ne ndes klom ase doctor ni bia ni asenti na pese me ko school no na me yenda sini na me timi hye klom afo nyina obi a oyale bia o klom ase bia pese me timi hye no pa na onya hodin ko bua me na obo store mama tana no kama da bia man timi anko bia na me te store na no e ton nema.
According to the resident, the road has also become a prime area for armed robbers. Nana Kwame Owusu is a spokesperson for the 4 communities.
Atebubu besen koka sene so anyuro fi abrofo kwansini aduasa mienu no krenya mianim se ade chena robe fa so kora na udi ya okese pa ya mu wa ya wadwendwene ekese da ebia nsuo kora to anase nsuo nya ntokora na orofa so na so fa ya dire.
Now, co-principal investigator of the University of York Galamsey research team, Professor Gladys Nyako, is calling on the government to fund the National Commission for Civic Education to educate citizens to help fight the illegal mining menace. Speaking at a roundtable discussion themed Galamsey, Drivers, Cost and Possible Solutions, organized by Think Progress Ghana, she emphasized that sending soldiers to mining areas cannot solve the problem and that government should treat the menace as a national concern devoid of politics.
Over the past few months, illegal mining, popularly termed Galamsey, has generated headlines. Galamsey has resulted in massive environmental damage, with rivers polluted and forests torn down. At the roundtable discussion, the panelists emphasized the need for government to support the NCCE to educate citizens in areas where Galamsey takes place as a measure to curb the menace. According to Professor Gladys Nyako, co-principal investigator, the money that the government uses in funding military personnel should rather be channeled to the NCCE in order to conduct educative activities that will enlighten citizens in illegal mining areas.
National education. NCCE is sitting in the district doing nothing. The money we give to the military to go and guard empty forests during the day and go to sleep in the night because we can't keep them there throughout. Give part of that money to NCCE to go round in the communities. Civic education. If there is any war we need to fight, it is civic education. It is important.
She further explained that for government to be able to effectively solve the problem, the discourse of Galamsey should change from war to collaboration and be devoid of any partisan politics.
So let us change our language from fighting and from war to collaboration, because we may not be able to deal with the war casualties. Take politics out of it. If we want to deal with this, take politics out. Because if government is looking at political parties, then nothing will get done. So if it is a national emergency, it is a national issue, we are all involved.
Another panelist at the discussion, Dr. Yao Graham, who is the coordinator for the Third World Network Africa, added that the production of additional gold is not worth it. It is only profitable for firms that invest in gold.
Let's talk healthcare now. And delivery of same in the Bosomtwi district is receiving a boost with the facelift of the Kpenoe Government Hospital. This follows years of outcry as the hospital struggled with space, infrastructure, inadequacy, and leaking roofs of its main block. The renovated block equipped with a theatre will contribute to quality care and create a congenial atmosphere for staff and patients. There's more in this report.
Kpenoe Government Hospital in the Bosomtwi district of the Ashanti region, built in the 1980s, has not seen any major rehabilitation works. The medical superintendent of the hospital, Dr. Chumesi Ankra, recounted the situation impacted healthcare delivery. He believes the facelift will be crucial in providing healthcare.
About recommissioning the renovated main hospital block. For more than 30 years, this block behind me had not seen any renovation, and that was resulting in a lot of leakages. So we went on to do a massive refurbishment, removing the roof and then replacing it, and then we went ahead to add other wards and other offices. So we gathered today to commission the building and also to raise funds to pave the area and then to get a canopy walkway to cover all the structures, so that even when it's raining, we could easily send patients from one part of the hospital to other parts. So that's why we get, by God's grace and the deeds of hard work of the staff and the support service, for the past 6 years we've not had any maternal mortality. And we attribute it to the commitment of the staff and the timely response that our staff here are attached to maternal care. But we are asking that when we are supported with these other things, in terms of space expansion, and then in the theater, if we can get a new theater machine, all of this will help so that we can continue to maintain that enviable record of not having any maternal mortality.
Dr. Ankra, however, asked for additional support.
We need doctors. Yes, we need doctors. We are just 2 doctors now. We are looking forward to getting more doctors to come and support in delivering clinical needs. The concern the support staff also, literally all of them are not mechanized. They are people we have to recruit and pay. So we appeal to continue to the government to bring in more staff to make this the work less stressful.
Member of Parliament for the Bosomchi District, Dr. Yao Seduchum, promises continued support for the hospital. He pledged 50,000 cedis to support other developmental projects. Clinton Yeboah's report for JoyNews.
The principal of the Wenchi Agricultural College, Abdullahi Mahamadou, is asking government to pay attention to agric education by providing infrastructural support to the few agric colleges in the country. He says, though Ghana's labor force is largely into agriculture, little has been done in terms of tooling agric colleges as compared to other institutions. He notes that with enough support, Ghana's food systems could be enhanced. Anas Abed has more in this report.
Agricultural education has been identified as a vital tool for training young ones in the basic principles of agric, changing their attitudes towards agriculture and providing avenues for the development of their skills for sustainable agricultural development. Even though more than 50% of Ghana's labor force are into agriculture, little attention is paid to agric education in terms of tooling as compared to other disciplines. Abdullah Mohammed is a principal of the Wenchi Agricultural College.
Of course, technology drives agric. Without the needed technology, we will see ourselves doing things like our grandfathers did. And that obviously will not be one that will help us in improving our food system. And if you look at the number of colleges in the country, woefully inadequate. We are talking of 6. As compared to the health institution, they are countless. As compared to the Ghana Education Service, the education training institution, they are more. But when it comes to tooling, even though we are so small in number, we cannot even compare ourselves to the kind of intervention that we get from government and other institutions.
Abdullah Mohammed, who was speaking at the 3rd matriculation ceremony of the school, noted that with enough support given to agric colleges across the country, Ghana's food systems will be enhanced.
We think that we need more support. They say a hungry man is an angry man. And so I think that if we are able to provide the food needs of the people who operate in a very peaceful manner, and the institution, the country or the nation will be in a better position to move forward and do things better.
Special guest of the occasion and Municipal Chief Executive for Wenchi, Alexander Obo Damwa, is optimistic that the enrolled students will play key roles in helping improve agricultural production in the area.
As you are aware, Wenchi is endowed with many agricultural facilities. So we can easily say that Wenchi is an agricultural town. And as you know, Wenchi is a cultural city as well. Training students like this in our municipality will help us now and then in the future. because they will be able to assist our farmers to teach them or demonstrate to them the new innovations in agriculture. So I think having institutions like Wenchi is a good thing for Wenchi Mine.
Some of the matriculants charge the youth to venture into agriculture as one of the surest ways of ensuring that Ghana's unemployment challenges is resolved.
What I have for the youth at large is agriculture is one of the best courses in Ghana. And to be frank with you, if you invest in agric, your investment will never be in vain. We are talking of unemployment everywhere, but to my best of knowledge and practically, I can say if all youth in Ghana will actually lodge into agric, I think all Ghana's problems will be solved.
I'm pleading on all my fellow friends to come to agriculture because it contains a lot of income. Even if the government do not employ you, you can employ yourself.
A total of 111 students made up of 78 males and 33 females were enrolled to undertake 2-year courses into certificate in general agriculture and vocational agricultural programs. Anas Sabit, Joy News, Wenchi.
With that, people of Ghana, we cap off the news, but up next we serve you the news review. Do stay. Back in the studio, thank you for staying with us on the AM show. Time now for the news review, and we're joined by political scientist and director for the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana, Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, my former lecturer, by the way. Good morning, sir.
Ben, how are you, my brother?
Always good to have you. And I see you're maintaining the Batakari swag.
Oh, yes, you know it.
Ehiapa.
Because we need to patronize made in Ghana goods. Yes.
It's very important. But I hope you've not been making any noise, Doc.
Noise about?
that was just a little joke. You know, Sikampedide.
I know.
You know, it's Sikampedide. And I know you have your own activities going on, farming activities. So you're not making noise. Else the money will run away from you.
No, I don't have to. I don't have to.
Okay.
Yes.
So let's get into this.
To add to what the president said, in addition to Sikampe Dede, Sikampe Rof.
Sikampe Rof.
Yes. There was a man at Okropon with that title, Sikampe Rof. Yes.
Reminds me of the lyrics to one of Stoneboy's songs. But I know this morning, definitely, you would like to take a bite out of the president's address to the nation on the state of our economy last Sunday. What are your thoughts after having reflected, digested everything he shared? What do you have to share back with us on the back of that?
Yeah, the president gave a speech, and I want to look at it from the point of view of the balance sheet, the pluses, the minuses, and the way forward. Right. If you look at the pluses, the president came out a raft of measures that will improve the economy. But first of all, he started with admission that there is a problem. There is an economic problem. And for me, that was very refreshing because you need honest leadership. And he demonstrated that yes, there's a problem. I acknowledge that fact. And that the problem is what? Economic. Right. And in itself, it's a solution to the problem because your ability to identify that there is a problem and then you don't deceive yourself into believing that there's nothing wrong, then that becomes a different thing. But on this call, the president did well by admitting that there is a problem. The problem is economic and that he's going to tackle it. Great idea. Then he came out with a whole lot of measures that they are going to put into place to make sure that they fix the problems head on. That was also good. He talked about the fact that he's going to cut expenditure about the, governmental staffers, the whole lot, ministers. You're going to cut expenditure on them, and then some physical economic policies. He mentioned them. Great ideas, no doubt about that. I believe that if he is able to walk the talk, we are going to have a relief to some extent. He also rekindled our hope that all is not lost, and that many countries are facing, and that is not to say that you want to belittle our experience here. He did emphasize on that, and that he will work hard so that at the end of the day, he will bring back the smiles that we expect on the faces of people. That was also good. He talked about other measures that will also go a long way to improve the system. Great ideas, and I love them. My interest is that he will make sure that he will walk the talk, and that all the things he has said, they will come back to support the economic system and make life better for everybody. Having said that, I want to move on to the minuses. Yes, in spite of all these great ideas that the president threw out, one, he did not also talk about the issue of, cutting down the size of government. I didn't hear that. If maybe it was in the speech and I did not see, that's a different thing. But I'm sure I listened with rapt attention, because you want to reduce the expenditure that we incur in maintaining our ministers and whatnot, 30%. If he has reduced the size of government from 8 present state to, say, 19 ministers, that will be very interesting. And it will reduce the bill on maintaining government ministers drastically. That I was disappointed in. The president never talked about that. And then reducing the staff, his office staff. That was another call from certain quarters of the state, that we needed to reduce the size of the presidential staffers and all that. That would have also added something to it. And then he also did not talk about the fact that he wants to remove Mr. Furata, which has been the main call of a lot of people in this country. We didn't hear that. That, for me, was another missing link. There were a number of them that time will not permit us to look at all that. But all in all, I believe that, yes, he has made this statement, and we want to see that he walk the talk. I also wanted to see a situation that he will also work to strengthen, all right? I think he touched on it briefly about the issue of the economic management team and the rest of them. I want it to flow from cabinet. Economic policies or major policies of government are taken by the small body of ministers who support the president in said decision taking. That is cabinet. So I wanted you to start from cabinet. I want cabinet, even though I know how cabinet has been doing their bit. But if you look at the situation we find ourselves, it tells us that there's something wrong, basically wrong with the economy that we need to fix. And I believe that it must start from the cabinet, that the cabinet must put their foot down, strengthen their effort, inject more ideas into the system, and then it will trickle down to the economic management team, which has overall responsibility of making sure that we have a very sound economy that will be able to deliver what we expect from them. And then it will follow down to the finance minister, who is an officer responsible for maintenance, implementation of such policies and all that. Then we know that we are talking. I want to see that as we go forward, so that we have all the 3 officers, that's the cabinet, that's the economic management team, that's the Ministry of Finance, also performing extremely well. In order to summarize all these things, I want to look at it from this perspective that, yes, it is the responsibility of government to fix the economy. There's no doubt about that. And a lot of responsibility is on the shoulders of government in this regard. But we also, as a society, we owe it a duty to ourselves and our state that the little that we need to contribute to our society, we need to do that. And first, we need to work very hard in this time to support the effort of government to make sure that the government is able to deliver on its promise. We need to do that. And that means that we need to get our basics right, do the things that require of us, and do them well. In addition to this, we need to make sure that we eschew certain practices that undermine the fortunes of the state, all right, so that the state will be able to stand on its feet and then support us. That is also a responsibility on our part. The president did talk about the issue of where people create fear and panic and all that, and prices go up, and that is true, or that we need to be measured in some of the things that we say and do about our own system, and then don't create that panic. It is unnecessary. And two, we need to also make sure that we don't take due advantage of the system, which the president touched on. Now, what's the point of, because of the economic situation, you want to have profit about 10-fold, 11-fold, and all that? It's unnecessary. It doesn't help anybody. Once we do that, I know that the president and his team, they owe it a duty to make sure that these things work. They have a lot of responsibility on their hand. Once they also discharge theirs very well, I'm home and dry. I have every reason to believe that we'll be able to surmount the current challenge that we have on our hands. That is my take for this morning.
Thank you so much, Doc, for sharing those thoughts with us. And of course, I've noted that on social media, for example, people have varying opinions on the address of Mr. President. Some say it was bland, others say it was right on point. But I think in the end, all we want to see is change to our economy. Because if you consider the fact that we're purchasing diesel now at 23 Ghana cedis and petrol at 18 Ghana cedis, then you realize this is not a good place to be. Not a good place.
No.
It's almost as though some people were working to fill their car tanks. I mean, and there's nothing left to feed on, So
yesterday I traveled to Dodowa from Adenta to my house. I bought fuel of 200 Ghana. When I came back, I wanted to go to a place closer, and I bought 300. Can you imagine that?
Just yesterday?
Yeah, yesterday. And this is a public officer, spending so much. But all that we have said, and which you have added, that we want the government to fix the problem. All right, that's all.
The Daily Graphic this morning: errant internal auditors risk 5 years in jail. That's according to the Director General. New voter register, NDC petitions Parliament over Ghana card. That story is on page 20. No private emails for official use. Directive for MMDAs and SOEs effective January next year. There's also Kwame Asiedu Baswa, new chancellor for Kumasi province. Let's get into some of those stories. Let's start with the one on page 20 of the paper. Let's quickly get there. Here we are. So NDC petitions Parliament over Ghana card in line with the new voters register. And the NDC has initiated moves in Parliament to halt the move by the Electoral Commission to use the National Identification Card, aka the Ghana card, as the only, that's the point, only evidence of citizenship for the compilation of a new register for the 2024 general elections. A petition seeking to halt the laying of a draft constitutional instrument, that is a CI, titled Public Elections, Registration of Voters Regulations 2021, was captured on the order paper for yesterday, but put on hold at the instance of the minority leader, Haruna Idrisu. Why? He will present the petition in Parliament next week, and he explained that the rescheduling was to allow for an engagement with the Speaker, Alban Bagbin, as well as the leadership of Parliament. Expected to regulate continuous voter registration, the draft CI has in it a proposal to make the Ghana card the sole source document of identification for prospective voters. Just to run. According to the petition, which was cited by the Daily Graphic, the NDC did not want the proposed CI to be laid until the backlog of Ghana cards, which the National Identification Authority has admitted to, had been cleared. What's your take on this? So the NDC is saying, until you clear the backlog, until you can guarantee that everyone who is qualified to register to vote in the continuous registration has a Ghana card, whether they take advantage of it or not, don't go ahead with the CI. Your take?
I think they make sound arguments, and that because election should be universal, we want to make sure that We don't disenfranchise people, all right? And that is the point they are coming from. The Speaker also, I listened to him, said that he will not allow it to pass simply because they have not briefed him and he wants to know the current circumstances and all that. I think that is in line with parliamentary practice and then in line with the procedures in Parliament. I believe that when who else prevail in this matter, we will arrive at something meaningful. Because what the NDC is saying, I have no doubt in my mind that it is fair and proper for us to have all the backlog cleared in the procurement of the Ghana card, so that at the end of the day, if that is what we want to use, everybody will be in a position to possess one of the cards and use it for the purpose for which the person got the card. So I think I am with them, but I always urge that all these things that we do, I know that we want to support the state, but we want to encourage dialogue and want people to remember that election is nothing but the pivot around which all democratic processes revolve. So we want us to jealously guard the process and then make sure that whatever we decide on will stand the test of time.
Let's do the story on page 16. Let's track back to that page. Errant internal auditors risk 5 years in jail. That's according to the Director General. And Dr. Eric Odrosai, who is the Director General, has warned that any internal auditor who misconducts himself or herself could be imprisoned for 5 years if found guilty by a court. And such a conviction, he said, could also come with an additional fine. He therefore advised internal auditors to strictly go by the standard of international practice frameworks, that is the IPFs, as prescribed and adopted by the International Audit Agency. I found this interesting, but let me just wrap with this, Doc. Dr. Osai gave the warning when he addressed the 2-day risk-based internal auditing training for public sector internal auditors in Koforidua, the Eastern Regional Capital, last Monday. We've heard stories of internal auditors from time to time conniving with different institutions, even public institutions, and all of that, to come out with audits that favor those institutions, by which when you get into properly, you would realize they are nothing to write home about. Is this what we need, these punitive measures? 5 years, and even after that, I think there's an additional fine tied to it. Is this what we need to sanitize that space?
I support that. I am in support of that decision. Why am I saying that? Democracy is run by rules and regulations. Without them, we go back to the state of nature, which you and I don't want to be there. Life is chaos, chaotic life there. And, you know, these people who take up these practices are professionals, trained very well with a lot of resources and over time. So we believe that all the norms governing their work, they have internalized them, and they want to put them into practice. After all, what is the use of law? Or what is the essence of a law? Is to regulate the conduct of people and make life better for all of us. In other words, law is nothing but a useful instrument to regulate the conduct of people and make life better. So what is the point of some, undermining the very principles that they've been trained with? They undermine the very structures that are in place to make sure that their work brings the best in terms of fruits. Then it's pointless. So if there is a body or there is a head who says that let us go on this route and make sure that we get the best from the professionals to safeguard revenue from public and other institutions, for me, is nothing but a good call, and I support it head on. My little caution is that it shouldn't be a 9-day wonder. We need to carry it through and then sustain the effort so that at the end of the day, whoever has an idea of getting closer to this to enrich him or herself with this practice will think twice, because now all eyes are working. I support, because I'm a student of institutions. All these things are institutions. When we say institutions in political science, we are not talking about edifices and all that. That are part, but we are talking about the rules, regulations, procedures, norms, and all that. Once they go down, I tell you, there is no state. You look around. If institutions, by the definition I'm giving you, they go down, there is no state. So I, as a statist, as a scholar studying things around the state, that is the basis of political science, that I am interested that institutions will be held up high at all times without fear or favor. Implement the rules rigidly without fear or favor, and then make sure that you sustain the effort. That is the way to go.
Let's quickly do this one. It's a story that excites me, and it's the banner headline, if you like, on the Daily Graphic. No private emails for official use. Directive for MMDA's SOEs, effective January. So what's the latest? From January next year, all workers in the public sector and state institutions will connect to a smart workplace common platform for all official communications. The key public infrastructure being operated by the National Information Technology Agency, that is NITA, is a security solution that will help agencies in the public sector encrypt government data in storage or transit for protection. Consequently, the government has directed that after the connection, the use of private or personal emails for official business in all public sector agencies should cease. Now, the sector minister, the Minister of Communications and Digitalization, has been speaking to this matter. I've had to take issue with her on the SIM card re-registration and a number of things that I feel she's goofed on. But on this one, I fully am in support. I don't know whether you recall the Hillary Clinton mess, the email saga from back then.
Yes,
I think
I do.
This will help forestall all of such situations. My only fear is that this could also help in terms of hiding certain things that the public would want to know, because if it goes through this encrypted system, though it is very good, at some point it could be used to hide things from the media, from people who would want to know when nefarious activities are being conducted. That's my only concern. But apart from that, I think this is wonderful. I don't know what your thoughts are.
I think I'm also in the same position. I share in this view that we need to protect the secrecy of government and then make sure that the government will be able to thrive at all times. Yes. So it's a good step, and we have experience on our hand to guide us towards the future. That is Mrs. Clinton issue, the Russian connection and whatnot. All right. We are careful about that, and the state want to take charge of any communication that emanates from its quarters. I think it is right in the direction. That will not take away the fact that there will be people within the system who want to serve as whistleblowers for a good reason. Those aspects are also there. But for me, let us make sure that this one works and works well. And that journalists, by their training, by everything, even if there are things that they want to hide, public officers want to hide, I know by our training as journalists, we have a way of unearthing all those things and bring it toward public light for, discussion and redress and whatnot. So I am not afraid. I am in support of this. We all have to support the minister, the ministry, and every ministry to be able to carry this thing to its logical conclusion.
Before I do the back page, on page 21, there's a beautiful image there of Travis Green, and of course it's all about the Adom Praise Festival. If you've not caught on yet, it's going down Friday the 4th of November 2022 at the Perez Dome in Jowulu. It's at 6 p.m. It's 100 CDs single, 150 CDs double, and all your favorite artists are going to be there, from Perez Music, Travis Green himself, all the faces that you love to see when it comes to the gospel landscape. So grab your tickets. Yeribehim. You know what time it is. Let's do the back page now. And GFA receives $2.5 million of World Cup money, $8 million more to follow. They're giving each participating team of the 32 countries, or the national teams, $10.5 million. So we're getting the initial tranche of $2.5 million, and we'll get the addition, the top-up of $8 million for merely participating. Of course, the entire kitty is $440 million, depending on how far you go in the tournament. All right, so let's get into other stories. I know you follow football. We can only wish our Black Stars the very best as they get down. It's 18 days more to the World Cup. But the Ghanaian Times newspaper, I want your quick reflections on these two stories. Apart from these ones, there is man jailed 21 years for defiling 11-year-old daughter, and there's also take action to end Galamsey permanently. Church leaders urge president. I am on this WhatsApp platform where people are simply, very prominent people, are up in arms, at their wits' end, looking at what Galamsey is doing to our country. There's also 4 dead, 19 injured in road crash on Mankesim, Apam Road, and the carnage continues on our roads. And finally, I definitely want you to take a look at this. Ghana's HIV infections hit 21,000 annually in last 5 years. Let me just take a brief sneak peek at that story, Doc, and then you can react to these stories as we wrap with the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Page 15, interestingly, is refusing to come up, but there it is. So Ghana's HIV infections hit 21,000 annually. The Director General of the Ghana AIDS Commission, Dr. Treme Echiahene, says the commission was revamping its partnerships and resource mobilization initiatives to ensure sufficient and predictable resources for national response. He said the efforts of strengthening coordination were in recognition of the sad reality that Ghanaians had become overly complacent insofar as HIV was concerned. He said this in Accra yesterday at the twin launch of the Commission's 20th anniversary celebration and the 2022 World AIDS Day commemoration to be marked on December 1st. 2 questions. Have we become that complacent when it comes to HIV? And what happened to all the advocacy, Doc? The adverts, observe the ABC rule, abstinence, be faithful, condom use, and it was all over. I remember growing up, it was all over the place. Now we've gone to sleep. What's your take?
Yeah, I think what you are saying is the exact situation on the ground, that in fact, in terms of advertisement, it has come down. In the year 2000, thereabout, you open your radio or TV set and it's full of advert on HIV, AIDS and all that. I think at a point in time, we slowed down and then matters are getting, worse by the day. So I'm happy that those who are in charge are taking up the mantle seriously, churning out messages that will really support the effort. All that they need is that everybody must be part and parcel of the process, and then we must get continuous education so that we do the needful by observing the rules, the ABC adverts and whatnot. Once we are able to do that, we'll be able to address the problem head on. It must be a source of worry to everybody, because once you have a population which is unhealthy, it's going to affect productivity. And at this point in our lives, we need higher productivity more than ever to support the things that we do here in order to keep ourselves afloat on the periphery of water. I'll move on to the issue of Galamsey, which we have said time and again, that we don't need to pay lip service to this because it's one of the major threats of this country. Why am I saying that? We are not only destroying the ecosystem, but we are destroying what? Water bodies. We are destroying agricultural production. We are destroying our very existence on the surface of the earth. All right. And then we are likely to, by that action, create insecurity for ourselves. Neighboring countries, a time will come, if we don't take care, they will take us on because we pollute waters and they get to their place and it causes a whole lot of damage or havoc and all that. And that undermines peaceful international relations that should exist between countries and all that. Our neighbors will soon complain about these things. As a student of international relations, I am very much alive with this. Not only that we are likely to face water shortage for home consumption, for agricultural consumption, and for whatnots. We are destroying everything. Look at the threat from European Union and other countries that also purchase our cocoa. They are now worried about cyanide getting into cocoa beans and whatnot. If you look further, you will see that a time will come, people will not be interested in getting fish from such water bodies and all that. We don't want to get there. We don't want to get there. The cost of destroying the environment today, the benefit that we get, all right, doesn't get anywhere near the cost that is associated in all these things. So we should not pretend. We want our MMDCs to act very firmly. We want the security people that government push them there to go and enforce law, to go and do simply that. All right. We have had stories where people go and then instead of policing the place, they do something untoward. We want them to realize that they are part and parcel of this problem, and our inability to address them head on. One day they will pay dearly for us. For that, we want to be. And then those who own the land, I'm talking about chiefs and all that. Recently, we had Asante admonition for all these things. We want to support the king and support every meaningful Ghanaian who want to help us to fight this thing head on. And all of us must be vigilant and then support the call to fight this canker from our society. It is not a good thing. Let us remember that, money is not everything. But that even if you want to acquire it, it must be done within the framework of the law. That is why there are laws. Look at countries where mining, take place and all that, and they organize it in such a way that nobody is affected. Why can't we emulate same? And that we want to have money today and destroy the very society that we want to enjoy money in here. This is incongruous. This is a misnomer, and nobody wants this. They have to think twice that we have no country except Ghana. Then when they destroy it, they will go wherever they go, they will come back here. Even if they don't come alive, we'll come and bury their body here. So they should think that this is the only place that we have on earth.
Maybe we should have a new saying, apart from Sikam Pedide, maybe we should also have Sikam Pe Galamsey. But we never know.
When we get money, we have to apply them prudently.
Let's wrap. Doc, we have just about 2 minutes, 30 seconds. I want us to wrap with quite a number of stories. Pick and choose. I'll hit you with about 3 newspapers or 4 of them, but I'll just pick scanty headlines. I'll explain some of them. So, Daily Guide, court threatens to free Aisha Huang accomplices. The story is on page 6. You can check out details. But Akufo-Addo testifies against 4. I'm talking about Edward Akufo-Addo, the president's brother, who allegedly, according to Bobi Ansa, per the story, was in custody of the president's, the Falcon, the presidential jet, while the president was hiring other aircraft, according to the story. And that was the allegation made on Class FM, the Class Media Group, by one journalist, Bobi Ansa. And for this reason, he is to testify against him together with some others in court. So he's taken up the matter in court. Those stories in the Daily Guide. But I want you to focus more on the next stories I'm going to be reading. The Finder, vote of censure, let Oforiatta be heard. That's according to Deputy Majority Leader Kpenoe Markin. And of course, he has said that while the minority is pushing for that vote of censure against the finance minister, we should also give him a say, like the lawyers will always say, audi alteram partem. There's also imports of 20 items valued at $10 billion annually. Tinned tomatoes, $1 billion. Rice, $800 million. Flour, $600 million. Poultry and meat, $400 million. Toilet roll and tissue, $100 million. And all that factors into the $10 billion that we lose annually. Occupy Ghana is giving me my next story. It's from the New Crusading Guide, and they say, show you are not all talk and no action, Mr. President. And that's Occupy Ghana's charge to President Akufo-Addo. I want your reflections on these stories. So Occupy Ghana to the president. Then there's vote of censure, let Oforiatta be heard. That's according to Kpenoe Markin, Deputy Majority Leader. And then we can talk about the imports of those 20 items. Over to you, Doc.
I'll start with vote of censure. All right. It is a process that when you trigger in Parliament, you are able to remove a minister who, in your view, is a non-performing minister from office if the head of state, who is an appointing authority, refuses to do so. Parliament has that power to do that. And there's an important provision that looks these things. When you look at the matter that we have on our hands now, the minority want to trigger this. And there is a call also for concern from the Deputy Majority Leader, Mr. Markin. Yes, I have no doubts in my mind that you can trigger such a process without giving a hearing to the very person that you are accusing of having done something wrong. And that is not in any law, all right? That the accused must be heard before you make a decision. So I think that that statement, we don't want to, belittle it, but I know that at the end of the day, if that is the decision that minority want to go with by, triggering the censor motion process, they would definitely will give him a hearing. All that we have to do is that we have to wait for that time and see whether the needful is done. If not, as parliamentarians and experienced as they are likely to take a decision that will reverse the process and then give Mr. Furata a hearing. Why is the vote of censure so important in this matter? It is important for a good reason. The reason is that when everybody is saying that remove the minister and the appointing authority is adamant, then you have cause to reason that a new route ought to be taken if that is the goal that they want to achieve. So these things are designed and made part and parcel of the parliamentary architecture so that we don't arm the appointing authority on unlimited power. There is always checks and balances within the political system. So this is one way by which you can check the excessive executive power of the state.
Right.
Sometimes, and then you'll be able to brighten the corner you find yourself. The issue about we importing certain commodities, including tin tomatoes. What is more interesting is tea, toilet roll, and the rest of them. It tells us that we as a people, we are not serious. I want to put it bluntly. And that includes your good self, myself, and everybody. Why are we doing this to ourselves? Toilet roll. What do we use to produce toilet roll? Is it not wood? Don't we have it in abundance here? What are we doing to ourselves here? Then we always want to look for hard currency to import this thing. That doesn't help anybody. And if you recall my earlier statement, I said that much as the duty rests on the shoulder, the tax rests on the shoulders of government, we as a people also have a contribution that we need to make. We want to, from today, people should know that it is not important to import tea roll, tin tomatoes, and all that. We import even tomatoes from Burkina Faso, a desert land, and we have arable lands all over. I think that we should be able to think about these things and then make sure that we produce what we need and then patronize what we produce. Simple.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kwame Asare-Asante. I'll leave you with just this message. I have to run. Greetings to Dr. Kwame Asare-Asante. He taught me humanities in Gimpa, such a great scholar, very down to earth and intelligent. That's from Alex Odro, who's been watching us. Thank you, Doc. And I look forward to your thoughts next Wednesday.
Yes, sir. Have a great day and wish Ghana well. We wish Ghana well. Yes.
We definitely do. We'll be telling you a lot more about what to expect in Qatar as the Youth and Sports Minister, Mustafa Yusuf, has been tight-lipped on Ghana's budget for the biggest football competition in the world. More in sports. And we get into the big stories right here on the AM show. Thank you for staying. Now, in the first one we're addressing, VALCO non-managerial staff are accusing their chief executive officer, Danny Champong, of sabotaging their operations, and they want him, together with all other retiree assistants of his, sacked. The workers say the CEO's non-performance has led to the outfit's stagnation in terms of output. Oh, and there's a catch. A recent development in terms of shutting down the plant, one that they say is unheard of, never happened before. But let's get some details from some of those joining us this morning. We have Courage Nunekbeku. He's an executive member with the VALCO Labor Union. We also have John Tega, a former vice chair of the labor union at VALCO, and Edgar Tete, who is the labor union's current chairman at VALCO. Gentlemen, a very good morning to you. Thank you for joining us on the AM show.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
All right. I think there's one person I'm not hearing. You may have to unmute and let us hear you. So whom do I have?
Yes,
do I have Edgar?
Yes, you have Edgar.
All right. So I see Edgar. I see Courage.
Yes, Edgar is here.
Okay. And John, I see you in the background as well. All right. So I'll start with Edgar. Just paint a picture for us about what exactly triggered this demonstration some 2 days ago at VALCO. What exactly happened and what the status is of VALCO currently.
Okay, good morning to you and good morning to your cherished viewers. Yes, what triggered this agitation is our wage obligation.
Hello, Mr. Tete, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes, and the fact is, those at the helm of affairs are all retirees. And the union see it that they are not being sensitive to our plight. So if you are the one in charge of issues and you are not being sensitive to the plight of the workers, who to us is the greatest asset you have, then we see that you have no business being there. Because if you can't pay attention or you can't embrace the hardships the workers are going through and so improve upon their welfare, then we think you don't have any business being in VALCO. We know VALCO is a strategic plant. VALCO is a key area that the economy can be improved by it. So if we have leaders who seems to be or who seems not to be sensitive to the plight of workers, then we think they have to leave.
All right, so tell me, why exactly do you think your CEO, Danny Champon, together with his deputies, are not being sensitive to your plight?
We understand he gave the instructions for the plant to be shut down. That is the information we gathered.
Where did you get this information from?
We got the information from one of the managers who was around at the time.
Okay, which specific manager was this, if you can just clarify for us?
He was in charge of carbon operations.
Okay, so you gathered that an attempt had been made or a call had been made, a request put forward to shut down the plant.
That's right. That's right.
Right. Is this something that happens from time to time? Is this something that happens often, shutting down the plant?
No, please, because the cost involved in shutting it down when you are about to bring it back, it's not a joke. It is not a joke.
Right. We'll get into the cost factor. Just hold for me. Let me also bring in Courage Nunekbeku. You're one of the technical people at VALCO. Tell me, so on day one, you were demonstrating, but you were working. Tell me about how you were able to do that. And then from the technical angle, what it means shutting down the plant. Courage.
Okay, thank you very much. And it's rather unfortunate that we have gotten to this point. You know, usually when we demonstrate, we prevent our people from working as a tool for them to know that we are serious about our demands. But this time around, we realize that no, the people who are causing the problem must rather be stopped from continuing to do what they are doing rather than letting the plant suffer. So strategically, we deploy our people And fortunately for us, I think the police were there, the managers themselves were there, the BNI was also there. In fact, all the people who matter, they were there. So nobody can say that we were not working on the set day. So as operations were ongoing, we were also putting across our frustrations, telling them that no, we cannot allow our future, which is VALCO, to go down the drain because of you people. Because you people do not have any stake in the company as we speak. I said it's unfortunate because this decision in particular has never happened in the history of the company. Even if you want to shut down, there are processes that you need to go through before shutting down. You just shut down without caring about the consequences. You know, the CEO and whoever or the people backing them have made a big mistake because, one, the CEO himself, by his posture, thinks that he's untouchable. He's so powerful that he can take any other decision with the backing of whoever. Maybe the president is backing him, which I doubt.
Well, we cannot substantiate that, so maybe you can just stay away from that.
I'm saying that I doubt if the president will be supporting the CEO to take such a decision. You know, on Sunday morning, we got the intel that there was a meeting, a 1-hour meeting involving members of the board and the top management. I'm very sure they took this decision at that particular meeting. And even before then, one of the retired
Right. Courage, we'll get back to you. Courage Nunekbeku is an executive member as well. I also see that we're trying to connect with John Tega, who is a former vice chair. But let me come back to you, Edgar. So what are some of the underlying issues? You've spoken about your CEO, and you've also made mention of the fact that some of these retirees are at post and they are not performing. Let's look at the age factor, since you mentioned that they are retirees. How old are we looking at? How long have they been at post? I know your CEO has been there since 2014. What is the status of that?
It is true. They are all above 60. The age range is 64 to 67.
How old is your CEO? How old is his deputy?
The CEO is 67 and the deputy is 66.
No, the deputy is 60. Okay, yeah. You know, the latest deputy that was brought on board, Dr. Yayabua, he is 68 years. So they are almost nearing their 70s.
Okay. So this is not about ageism, but it's also to let everyone know that they have hit retirement and they've been brought back. One for 7 years, another one for what? 6 years. We'll get back to the VALCO staff to, give us some more scoop on this situation. But let me quickly bring in Yadom Boakye-Amponsah, who is a labor consultant. Mr. Boakye-Amponsah, a very good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, sir.
It's good to have you. Now, this is an interesting development because 2 days ago, we heard of VALCO staff demonstrating on the premises of the company. Now, they were demonstrating but working at the same time because they run a shift system. But the crux of the matter is that, one, they feel the retirees who don't stand to lose anything are not giving their best. They are not performing at optimal levels for VALCO. And that, secondly, they are not the conditions of service for the workers are not in the right state. So one crucial thing you have to take note of: all activities of VALCO are in dollars. So they purchase in dollars, they sell the product in dollars as well. And the pay structure is also in dollars from top management to non-managerial staff. However, the complaint is that since the dollar rose, let's say if someone is supposed to be taking $300 while you give them the CD equivalent, they expect that as the dollar rises or appreciates, they would get equivalents in there as well. There's a cocktail of matters, but let's focus on that for now. How do you react to that as a labor consultant?
The name is Ben, I guess.
Benjamin, yes.
Benjamin. Good morning, and good morning to your cherished listeners. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to comment on this matter. Actually, if it's an indexed environment, then there should be an interbank rate which should be very dynamic and should be moving with the rate on the market. And that is the rate that has to be applied in giving them the cedi. So, for instance, if 2 months ago the cedi was the cedi was 10 cedis to the dollar, and you are paying somebody $300, then certainly his salary is 3,000. If it moves to 13 cedis, then it has to be commensurate. It has to move from $3,000 to, the 13 cedis equivalent. So if you convert 300 by 13 cedis, then you are looking at 3,900. That should be his or her salary for the month in which the interbank rate is 13 cedis. So if they are paying them a stable amount of using a particular rate all the time, then it is not right. It is not right. Then the workers are being shortchanged.
All right. So you agree then with the workers that owing to the fluidity of the situation, once there's an appreciation, of course, if there's a depreciation as well, they will take the hit. But once the dollar appreciates, they should be paid the equivalent. You agree with them on that? Yes. Actually, that is the spirit underpinning the use of the indexation. Okay? The theory is that if you pay the person in cedi, at the end of the year, you have to use the inflationary rate to adjust the salary. Okay? And then you have to top it up as well. But if you index it, then on a month-to-month basis, the employees are able to take advantage of the depreciation of the cedi and then the appreciation of the dollar. Okay, so that they don't lose the market value of their salaries too much. And it also helps in determining wage adjustments at the end of the year, because in most cases the workers would have been taken care of in terms of the strength of the dollar. So when you are adjusting, you don't give him 30% increment. You give him just the gravy that comes on top. So on the back of that, development, just a quick question. If an agreement is arrived at and for the workers to be paid these sums of money based on the dollar equivalent, can it be retrospective then? Since this was actually per their conditions of service and per what I have gathered, that is the situation. It has been indexed as such. Does that then mean that it can be retrospective? We can go back to when the dollar started appreciating and top up for them up to this point. Is that logical? Certainly. If I am advising the company, that is the kind of advice I will give. Because, in principle, you shortchange your employee, and you don't do that. So you have to go back and correct the wrong, flatten the sheet for everybody. Right. So when the dollar started, increasing in strength against the cedi, you go back, and whatever you've done wrong, you write it up, and that's it. Another question, it's not about ageism, because no matter how old a person is, if he or she is sharp, I know some very old people who are very fine at what they do, but they have a concern to do with a number of retirees that are heading VALCO, a critical national asset. And they talk about their CEO, who is 67, the current deputy, who is 66. So this means that the CEO is 7 years off the retirement grade. The deputy is 6 years off the retirement grade. And a host of others who are in the same bracket who are leading this crucial state asset. And they say, that is what the workers purport. They say, because these people have practically achieved everything they get, and because of the perks, so to speak, of course, we've not been able to engage them. It's been unfruitful reaching out to them. they are taking certain things for granted. But it is interesting when it comes to the benefits, because some of those they tell me, from fuel allowances to others, are staggering, and the non-managerial staff are not getting this. That is one of their lamentations. How do you react to that? Is it in terms of public policy, labor consultancy, retaining such people for such a long time? The CEO, Danny Champong, has been there since 2014. Is that apt?
Since 2014.
Since 2014.
Okay, so how was he appointed in the first place? And what kind of contract was given to him? Okay, because if you are appointing someone who is already 60 years, I don't expect you to give him a 4-year contract. Okay? What you do is to give him about a 3-year contract and expect that he will train someone to work in his stead so that he can walk away. Okay, so I don't know what kind of, if I have details of the contract given him and how he was recruited, then I can be in a position to comment on this properly.
Just hold for me.
I have a problem. I have a problem with the way we recruit people into certain public institutions.
Right.
Okay. I mean, we have the Public Service Commission there. Their role is to, recruit or facilitate recruitment of people into such institutions. Were these guys recruited through that process? Or did the company on its own strength recruited them? Or the government in power, foisted somebody on them? I mean, there are issues I need to understand. But I personally have a problem with the way we recruit people into public services.
And those are very valid concerns you're bringing up. But let me bring in the president, the chairman of their local union as well, to find out whether he can give us any further clarity. Edgar, if you can hear me, do you know how? I mean, we know Danny Champong came in 2014, but do you have any further details about what led to his appointment and how he stayed on for so long?
Yes.
All right, it appears the connection is not good at all. Maybe we'll just try reaching them by phone so we can get further clarity on some of these issues, because the network obviously isn't helping much. Do we have Courage? Is Courage still with us? Courage, Nunekbeku, if you can hear me. Can you?
Yeah, Benjamin, I'm here.
Great. I'm sure you know about how Danny Champong came to be CEO of the entity. Can you give us at least some clarity for Mr. Amponsa to give us further details?
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Danny Champong took over from the then Dr. Charles Mensah. That's in 2014 as the CEO. So when Dr. Charles Mensah left, he took over. And in VALCO, when you go on retirement, automatically your badge number also changes. But as we speak, Dan Champong's number 0110001 has not changed. And in fact, we were not privy to the kind of appointment that the current president gave him, but he says the president has asked him to continue to be on the job as our CEO, because according to our brochure that catalog all those that went on pension at that time, Dan Champong's name was not part of it. That means that as we speak, he still considers himself as a regular worker, because if his badge number has changed to be 080, they would have considered him as a contractor. So for now, he says the president has asked him to stay on as our chief executive officer.
I see. Mr. Boakye Amponsa, does that give you any further clarity on how things have, culminated in what we are seeing?
It means his appointment came directly from the president. But may I ask whether VALCO still has a valid board?
I have heard of the VALCO board, but
this is a matter that should be channeled through. You see, that we are doing a whole lot of things wrong, because even if the president has proposed him, I expect that the board will ratify his appointment. Okay, once I mean, all the statutory requirements have been met. Okay, so that he will be responsible to the board, so that the board can supervise his work. But if he's been asked by the president to stay on, I'm sure the board can't even touch it. You see, these are the issues that we need to change. I mean, the corporate world all over, I mean, is governed by structures, policies, and principles. Okay? So we can't do things anyhow and expect to have any different results. Okay? So I am of the view that if the man has overstayed his welcome, no matter how good he is, if he's not been able to train other people to move into that kind of capacity, then he is, to put it the least, then he is inefficient. Because you cannot claim that you are the only one who can do this job.
Let me ask you this quick question. Is it absurd? Is it unheard of for someone 7 years after retirement to still be at post? Is it unheard of?
No, it isn't. It isn't. There are certain situations where, due to the special skill of the person, I mean, maybe, and that is what I'm saying, but there's a matter of timing in there. Somebody who is 66 is already 67, is already tired. Okay, so if you hire him as a consultant or a contractor for a short while to help climb the tide or something, it is not wrong.
Right.
But he cannot continue to be a fully functional employee. Okay, as he's saying, he's still a fully functional employee. He's not even a contractor. It's a problem.
So obviously, there are lots of policy issues, labor issues that are not being, got right. You've agreed with the workers on the standpoint of getting the equivalence when it comes to their dollar-rated pay. They also speak about other perks that they do not get. But there's also a crucial issue. It has to do with the shutting down of the plant. If you were listening earlier, they intimated that it's never happened before. From what they share, there was a directive which one head, one of the leaders of that institution, I'm just avoiding mentioning the name, confirmed came from the CEO. And the directive was not complied with by in-house staff, but Gridco was called upon, and there was a selective shutdown of the plant. In other words, auxiliary functions of the plant, lighting, air conditioning, and all of that could still operate. But the plant, which has the rectifier, which contains the cells, and now, mind you, there are 127 of these cells that are operational. Each one that goes down would require $100,000 to bring it back to life, more than $100,000. So if you look at the 127 cells that were shut down 2 days ago, which are now supposedly dead, it would cost the state $12.7 million to resuscitate them, bring them back to life. On the other hand, what the workers are asking for, pay us equivalents, would amount to about $1 million. What does this constitute? Does it constitute financial loss to the state? How do we address that issue?
I'm sure for this one, before you can make any listen out of it, you need to have the full details. As to why a plant of that nature will be shut when it has no problem, I don't understand. Because these things, you see, when you run a plant like that, you run it from the beginning to the end, and at each point, you have a cost attached to it. Okay, and the efficiency of the business is actually a denominator of the cost.
Right.
So if your cost is efficient, then the business is actually making profit. If your cost is you are shutting down things and then putting them back at all times and running into debt and that kind of thing, then the business might as well not be there at all. Okay. But since we don't have the full story, it is very difficult. But I expect that if he actually ordered that the plant be shut, then he should have a reason for doing that. And somebody, that's why I'm asking of the board. Somebody above him should be asking why he does that. Because if he has a board, then there should be a quarterly report. Okay, first you have your monthly report and the quarterly report. Then there's a board meeting, possibly quarterly, to review the operations and how to make the operations more efficient. If they had a board, then certainly this matter would have to be cleared with the board before you can even shut it down. All right. So there are issues we need to know in order to be able to make.
Hold for me, Mr. Amponsa, just for further clarity as we get ready to wrap the conversation. Courage, if you can hear me, what do you know so far? What are the reasons or the reason for which the plant was shut down or the order was given? Can you share with us?
Okay, thank you very much. As I said earlier, the shutting down of the plant is a well-orchestrated plan because they have been using it to threaten the workers.
When you say they, whom are you referring to?
Yes, I mean the Deputy Chief Executive Officer in charge of operations by name Mr. George Dodd. That if we don't shut up on your demands, we are going to shut down the plant and sack you and recall those that we feel we can work with. And CEO is aware of this. So when I said they, I mean George Dodd, together with the CEO, and I'm sure at this point, the board chairman, Dr. Henry Benya, should be added to it because they couldn't have implemented this threat if the board were not to be in the known.
So you're insinuating that this is some sort of strategy, shut down the plant and get rid of maybe loud workers who are creating a stir.
Exactly.
Is that what you're saying?
Exactly, sir.
So you're also confirming, was it then the deputy CEO who ordered the shutdown or the CEO himself, Daniel Echampo?
The CEO himself, he gave this order. The CEO himself. But as I said, the threat of shutting down the plant has been coming from the lips of the DCO long before now. So it will be a collusion between him and CEO. And as I said, the board chairman is also an accomplice because they couldn't have carried out this threat without his collaboration.
All right. Before I go back to Mr. Amponsa, I just want you to explain to us, what would it take, even if we had the $12.7 million ready to resuscitate the cells, the 127, what else will it take to bring them back to life? Hello, Courage?
Hello?
Yes, did you get the question?
No, please.
So I was just asking, before I go back to Mr. Amponsa, I want to find out the 127 cells that will cost us more than 12.7 million to bring back. Apart from that, what will it take in terms of manpower and others to bring them back into working condition?
Yeah, it's very difficult to revive a dead cell. And aside the money, that is if the money is even there, workers have to spend a lot of their energy, run 12-hour shifts, constantly before they could even bring one of the cells back. So the materials that they are going to use, which has already been considered as part of the cost, is also one thing. Sometimes it's difficult getting the materials because the type of technology that we use now is actually faded out. So we need to go back to those manufacturers to customize it for us. So getting those people who are almost out of business is very, very, very difficult. So it goes beyond the cost, the financial cost, and other things. So at least 6 months will have to go down the drain if we have to revive all the 127 months. And I think at this point, Dana Champon and his group of retirees have put the company into a very big mess, which we plead that they must be held responsible.
So, Courage, thank you for that point you made. Mr. Amponsan, just to wrap the conversation. Courage, thank you for that point. At least we've got the thrust of what you're saying. Mr. Amponsan, so based on what he has just said, What is your reaction any different? He is alleging that, and this is an allegation, that, well, first of all, that the CEO ordered the shutdown and that the DCEO, the deputy CEO, has been threatening this, and he is suggesting that this couldn't have been done without the approval of the board chairman. So he is suggesting they are in cahoots and this was done. How do you react, finally, to conclude the conversation?
So being a union, this coming from a person, I won't put much value on it at this point because there's a one-sided story.
Right.
I prefer that we have a reaction from management as well, because I can't fathom how a business, a plant which is running without any difficulty will be shut down just like that, only to get rid of a few people. Nobody does that. If you want to get rid of an employee, what is it? Even if you know that by doing so, you have to go and fight this thing out in court, most companies will take that route easily than to shut down a whole operation, to compromise the entire business. Okay, so I don't think, maybe you guys will have to go into it and find out what the actual problem is. But for me, I've been running plants for most of my life.
Right.
And I know that you won't just shut down a plant to get rid of one or two employees. Nobody does that. I mean, what is it? You go to court, you go to Labour Commission, go to court and fight it out. Even if
they have suggested, Mr. Amponsan, that there is some reapplication process involved when some of these things happen, and that through that, quite a number of them who are vocal members of the union, and these are quite a number of them, not just a handful. The plan is to get them off. But we have also read and heard in other quarters where the CEO has actually spoken and suggested that the workers were up to something on the day of the demonstration, for which reason the plant was shut down. But the point to be made is that regardless of whatever situation, the police, mind you, were there. And they found out that there was nothing mischievous happening. It was a peaceful demonstration per what we gather from the police as well. So it is a bit curious about why the plant eventually was shut down. But anyway,
you don't have to shut a plant down. A plant that uses rectifiers and cells, if you shut it down, you cannot it's not like switch on and switch off a light. The processes in bringing back this into full operation is normal. It's a render. You don't do that.
Right.
And I hope that maybe someone will have to answer to the good people of Ghana why this should happen.
We'll definitely get to the bottom of it, and where the buck stops, maybe heads will roll depending on what exactly transpired. But Mr. Amponsan, we're grateful from the labor angle for joining the conversation. We're also grateful to Kpenoe Kpeku, an executive member of the union. Earlier, we also interacted with Edgar Tete, who is actually chairperson of that union. So we're drawing the curtains on that conversation. But up next, after the break, we'll be spending some time with former president of the Association of Ghana Industries, that is the AGI, Dr. Prince Kofi Klugeson. We'll be talking about what options are on the table, are available to industry players during these torrid economic times. Do stay. Thank you for staying with us on the AM show. We now talk about the torrid economic time and how the Association of Ghana Industries is handling the situation. Joining us, Dr. Prince Kofi Klugeson. He's a former president, Association of Ghana Industries, and president, Volta Development Forum. He joins the conversation. Doc, a very good morning to you.
Good morning. Thank you. How are you?
I'm very well. And it's interesting because how many days ago was this? This was about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
and we met at a conference and had a lot to talk about. Of course, we were dabbling in cybersecurity then, but today we are talking about AGI and how things are going. Before we get into that, the AGI, GUTA, importers and exporters, you've been engaging Mr. President, the office of the president in recent times. And even before that, we heard from the president on the state of the economy. I want us to use that as a background to the conversation we're about to have. What do you see when you look at the state of affairs, industry, and the economic times we're looking at?
Look, let me first make a disclosure. I'm the past president of AGI.
Yes, definitely. And we mentioned that.
Yeah, but I'm quite grateful that the president has seen it wise to be able to engage the private sector, who has been the engine of growth for all these many years now. And I think it's going in the right direction because the president, for the first time admitted that there's crisis, and he also talked about the African continental trade, which is a transformation, agenda, and also talk about opportunities, that, should exist within these, turbulent times. So in between these three major areas, we need to find a solution, and see what it is that can be done. So for me, there are a lot of opportunities, that, we have to take care of. The blame game, I think COVID, Ukraine, and Russia, I think must stop so that we can refocus on our country's upliftment and transformation. I don't think it's that bad, if we refocus. Looking at case I was just watching you talking to VALCO about their closure of plants because of 2 people must go. I don't think this thing should drag for too long, because if you don't do it, I've got many experiences in that one. I remember very well the Kufuor time. VRA power shut down the whole country. So I led the National Council of AGI, convoy to Akosombo to meet the workers. And when we got there, after we engaged them, the chairman decided to excuse me and said, look, Mr. Koljesin, we respect you guys very much, but we think that this matter is more than you. We must go. If it does not go,
that was the time of Dr. Rekubo.
Yeah.
Right.
If it does not go, the power will not come. And seriously, nobody will find out where we missed the power of the power was switched off somewhere near the Ivory Coast border.
Wow.
40 years ago, So, we must learn from history, and these things should not get 2-3 days to resolve. There are no issues. I must be honest with you, based on my experience, It should not take, why are you going to, if you want some little money, deal with it. That's why I appointed a CEO. You must be responsible and liable, the fiduciary activities of the company. So let's deal with it, close it up so it don't become a major news or major issue that will continue, because today it's not that easy, to get the spare parts flown down if something should go wrong. So that's my little comment on that VALCO one. So they should just cure it before the end of the week. Whatever it is, just cure it.
Just cure it.
Just cure it.
Since you've gone down that road, very briefly, so this is West Africa's sole aluminium smelter in Ghana, not just for Ghana, the whole of West Africa. So if they go down, you know what that means. But I want to bring up a bit of a tricky subject. You are a senior citizen. One of the complaints is that apart from the conditions of service and all of that, we have retirees who are staying on almost as though they were, non-retired staff. And we're talking 66, 67, 68. Is that problematic? Because the people are saying those who have already benefited from the system for a long time are not moving on for others who also can do the job to get there. What is your quick take on that? And then we come back.
Then the law says that at 60 you must retire. It's simplicity. That is the law. That is the constitution. It's not Akufo-Addo's law, the CEO's law, or Togbe Kakani-Apao's law, my grandfather. No, the law says when you're 60, you're gone. You're retired in public service. So it's not an issue, man, to be dragged on English, big English. You finish, retired, go, finish. Why is he doing the first place? Even if you're appointed, conscience might tell you the law says I must not be there. So why are they causing all this havoc? You see, look, some of these things, I don't think that we should drag it. There are a lot of experience we've been through. We mortgage all our young days for Ghana to be here. Your boss, Kwesi, ask him. We're young when we started all these things. So we should not allow this thing to happen. You are 60 years old, it's a public company, just go. Because if you don't go, there are other issues. You see, look, there are crap who call no curfew. But all this problem is all about no curfew. Some little money to look after my children, to go to school, to be equal to somebody. So is it a problem? Are you the only one that's qualified to be there? No, we need to be able to learn this thing from many people all over the world so that we know that if the retirement age is 60, please, if they give it to you, please don't accept it. You can come as a consultant to the organization, but not the substantive, person. Because once you get there, so many things happen. So that's my view.
Thank you for sharing those quick views. Let's get back to the main conversation. Yeah. We're talking about industry and the economy and how we can manage in these times. You referenced the president's speech, and you said that we should get away from the blame game, Russia, Ukraine, COVID-19, and all of that. But did you get any solutions? Because, look, there was talk about import substitution, for example. I'm just looking at the Finder newspaper today, and earlier in the course of the news review, we import $1 billion worth of tinned tomatoes, $800 million worth of rice, $600 million worth of flour. In terms of poultry products and meat, $400 million. Toilet roll and tissue. This one got me, smiling a bit. $100 million. Of course, we have some outfits in Ghana that do these, but obviously we are not able to meet the supply of the entirety of the nation. So did you get any solutions then from what?
Ben, see, these numbers you're mentioning, that doesn't give, does it not give you 50% of the $3 billion we are looking for already?
That's actually a thought.
It gives you a solution, that the rice, Volta region today, I'm supposed to know, is the biggest producer of rice.
From Aveyime to all the other places.
To everywhere, the northern region and so forth and so good. Why are we importing rice? I don't know. Why are we importing rice? The Minister of Agriculture should tell them why we are importing rice. The Minister of Trade should tell them why you are approving IDF for rice to be imported. The Minister of Finance should tell them why you are paying for the rice that has been imported. You see, these issues are not issues for it to be laughed at. Look, if I am President of Ghana, Minister of Agriculture, and there's COVID, and there is Ukraine, I'll stand up and look, when you go to, the President mentioned African Continental Trade. Ben, in that beautiful building that African Continental Trade is, on the 7th or some floor there's a Ghana Community Exchange. In that building, there's Ghana Exim Bank in that building. These three institutions can cure this problem. You understand? Look, why are you importing rice? Sell to who? Produce and export. Do an excess production and export and do your balance of payment. You understand? These issues are all over the world. People are doing it. Rwanda, everybody is promising I will do that. So I think that these issues, the more we talk about it, the more we continue talking about the English, big English. We need to focus on what must be done, and it can be done. Look, yesterday I went to one of my major friends' companies. I met a young lady. It's an outsourcing company. So I met a young lady in the reception. She said she's looking for a job as a teller. So I said, so I engaged her, gave her my card. Oh, you are the technology. I said, wow. I said, what did you study in Kenya? I said, agriculture. Why not work in agriculture? He said, I'm looking for a teller job. So I said, look, why not go on to the lab what you studied? Would I wish to do so, but there are no opportunities. A graduate from Kenya yesterday. I want to outsourcing companies. You see, these issues, I don't think they are a problem. Let us refocus like that we did many years ago. I worked with many presidents in my life. From a champion time, Operation Feed Yourself, he declared, from Rawlings time, carrying these issues. We engaged. We spent our useful days to resolve them. Yamsun, we did it. So it's not an issue where most of us, are worried about. Let us know what the issues are. If government has challenges, let's know those of us who can connect, let's connect, and resolve the issues, especially food. You see, look, when you go
food
to
security is crucial.
Yeah, when you go to Burkina Faso, I led AGI delegations there. Irrigation, they tell you it's raining on the tomato farms in Burkina Faso. Today. Go and see. It's raining. It's not rain. It's irrigation, I think, by the Indian or Israelis, technology. And it just rains, or let me just say poured on plants, and it brings tomatoes. We have Palogo tomato factory. Why is it not working? You see, let's just get back on a table, put our pride aside, put all these things aside, and let's get back to work. People want to. I'm a farmer. I have a huge farm in Volta region. I had the biggest farm many years ago. I did. When you go at Sonia, she has put a lot of money into farms on the roadside there. The boy is frustrated. Why? He's an OMC, but he invested in it on the land.
Right.
Whatever I did, I had over 2 months square of land. Let us get to work. You see, if you don't want to get to work, then let's say you don't want to get to work, and then we know what to do. You see, look. Production of food, it's still raining right now. You see, when you go to most of the pages, it's raining right now. Let us produce food. When excess is produced, we have a buffer stock, company, let the community exchange go into business. In India, Indonesia, and most of this area, you'll be able to sell your produce on your smartphone, and it's bought and picked and paid you on a smartphone.
Right.
You see, look, what is all yam from Agbogbolosi through my village, all the way to Agbogbolosi, the vehicle will be collapsing, Dumelo will be bringing his yam to here. Why can't it be bought at the farm gate and then they flourish? You see, this issue, I think we need to have a positive conversation.
Is that not the kind of positive conversation that's been started by Mr. President when he says, look, let's do away with some of these products that we can produce here. Let's start a project to deal with them.
It's not, President of Ghana is not in charge. Let's say Minister of Agriculture in charge. Let's say Regional Director of Agriculture in charge. Let's say District Agriculture in charge. It's not the President's business. I don't think so. There are people in charge. There's a Ghana Community Exchange. There are buffer stock. There's Minister of Trade. They are all there. Let's get to work. I've been to the whole world, man. I've been to many, Israel. When you go to Israel, at 10 o'clock, all the trucks are coming to Ben Gurion Airport. They are going to Convent Gardens, flown food into Convent Gardens in London. The plane arrived there in London at the airport, Gatwick, whatever, arrived at the market about 4 a.m., market picket to, all the shops in the UK. There's no land in Israel, but they pull out the stone.
It's practically rock.
It's all rock, but it comes out. You understand? You go to Indonesia, see, look, what is the problem? Let us know the problem as far as I am concerned.
Dr. Klujason, what do you think is the problem? Because I remember some of these factories that you speak of, curiously, Nkrumah started them. From jute to rubber, that our police officials and the other state officers were supposed to be using boots and everything manufactured by us. From glass, the Bosso glass factory, I could list so many of them. How did we lose the plot to this point? And especially, let me rope in the conversation. We have one D1F, one district, one factory. When the president was speaking, it hit me because some of these problems, some of these infrastructure, so to speak, should have been plugging those holes. Where did we miss the plot?
You see, the president is our big brother at my age. It's one guy who has been part and parcel of the evolution. I don't want to call it revolution. If I look at his facial value on screen, it's sad. He is disappointed. Why did we get here? You understand? You see, the man has appointed many people. I'm a business person, like Kwesindum appointed all of you. You have your roles. You don't go and call Kwesindum, can I talk to Dr. Kuljesi, Mr. Kuljesi, Kojo Kuljesi, You don't do that. Kwesichum, your CEO, you know your roles. You see, the issue today that let us have the conversation. You don't need to go to public office to become Benjamin Akakpo. You understand? I've not been part of public office. I've not been an assemblyman or whatever it is. I've been in business. Most of us, who have brought the policy issues for Ghana. Look, everybody was very happy when the president said, I would bring one district, one factory. Look, Ben, do you know what that means? I will bring $1 million per each constituency. I will make sure that the kids in Ghana go to school. If you take these 3 policy guidelines, this country would have bypassed, become the first place again. Look, I was the president in the United States of America when he made that major speech Ghana beyond aid, Africa beyond aid. Look, Ben, that day in Washington, all the news carried this president. You know, he's a short man, but he was taller that day than everything else. You know, it was a very powerful policy issue.
They bought into it.
Look, I sat in that room while the 54 Congress governors stood up and gave my president a standing ovation. I grew taller. I told Nana Berito and others, let's go to business. You know, because he's made it. So from then on to all these issues, you see, we need to be able to find out what is wrong. You know, there's no haircut. It's not an issue. What is the problem? Let's identify it. You see, maybe, probably, we can tell you, my experience in all this country, people in government alone were not able to achieve goals. We in the private sector, the young people in Ghana, like you are young now, you are those that came to intervene. All of us today, you can call us, we are senior age, but we intervened. Policy issue, the Ghana Stock Exchange, Media Commission, Stock Exchange, NCA, I was in telecoms, so we formed NCA. We see what's in, Joy from Canada, so Media Commission. All the policies were done by young people. Today, if the current young people let's engage the young people to do the job, let's supervise them. You see, so therefore we can quickly get out of this matter. Look, we are going to IMF. We are going to all these places. Ben, who is in the IMF? There are a lot of Ghanaians there. Ghana youth who are in the London Stock Exchange, New York Exchange, that can help us. So if it's agriculture, at least let's focus on what we can do with agriculture. You see, look, the 1D, 1F, those that have been done so far, what is the evaluation? Can we really convert all of them and put some few machines there to start producing, let's do that. There are a lot of space. I've been to a lot of them. They are huge buildings. You see, another major problem in this country is that, you see, the 1D, I think the structure, in my opinion,
1D, 1F.
Yes, in my personal opinion, is wrong. You know why? You see, government is providing debt to establish these, factories. All government need to do is provide 30 or 40% equity and let the banks provide the debt, and then it must be exportable produce, and they will move on. You cannot be borrowing money and establishing 100% factory and give it to someone, and you commission it and you walk away. I don't think it's the right thing to do. So is the structure of the economy. See, Ghana, look, I've been crying, fighting, we'll be fighting. Let's make laws. Look, today you are brilliant, Benjamin Akakpo, young people. Let's enact laws that allow the youth, the next generation, to be able to have equity as Ghanaians. Malaysia had 35%. Sri Maposa, they walked out in Malaysia and Singapore, and they created black empowerment in South Africa, which allowed the South Africans, to have 30% equity in everything. Malaysia had 35%. Singapore, they all went through equity. Ghana has zero equity. Even our new company code talks about beneficial ownership. So if people have done sole sourcing, whatever, how much have they made? They should bring some back to the country. Why should Ghana GMPs have 11%, equity stake in? So if you speak $1 billion, $100 million come to GMPC, and the foreign company takes $100 million, they're not even bringing back.
We're talking of equity, we get about 3%, 7%,
what loss is
9%,
that,
11%.
What loss is that? So when you're in a crisis, let's reach out to all the companies. The president wants to meet all these companies at 10 o'clock. What do we do? Look, we have Standard Bank here. We have the bank here. They probably are the one who give the money to IMF to give back to you at the concessionary rate. Let's engage and find practical solutions. Look, one of the things I keep on telling everybody, I've been in this game for so long. When the IMF, you send all the documents to IMF, they'll send it back to Professor Benjamin Akakpo or whatever it is. Let me have your opinion, whatever the issues are. It's all here. The ISE, the Legon, there are many, and as a young, it comes back here as Ghanaians. See, so therefore, let's look at the local solution that the president has set originally and get back. You see, look, 2 years is left for his presidency. Do we need to sustain his legacy as president, or do we need to break it? These issues are looking, let's sustain it for the next 2 years. The president has spoken to the country. I'm very happy when I saw him. He's my big brother. I know he's genuine, whatever it is, but he's crying the same way Rawlings and others cried. What do we do? Look, I chaired meeting on HIPIC during for a time, at Lapade Beach Hotel with Wolferson. We were approached by the embassies of Japan not to go there because, look, it's in the US there are 2 or 3 laws of bankruptcy. chapter 7, chapter 11, and chapter 13. Probably where we are now, before the IMF come, is to be able to kick in one of those chapters to ensure that the numbers are right. So if you talk about $3 billion, by the time the money comes, the city value must have more value. So today we have 15, maybe by Christmas it will be 20. So if the 1 billion comes, so is that the case? Let us be honest to know what the issues are. We still have some very young, sharp people at the Debt Management Ministry of Finance that we work with. They will give you the information. We fly to Washington and deal with people. You see, these matters, I think, let us get back to the old. You see, one of the major things I've been crying about is my colleagues whose business has been taken over. We've seen all of that. Maybe we should do restoration.
Restoration?
Yeah.
To such people?
Yeah, is that?
His GN Bank and all of that?
Yeah, let's do restoration. You see, they have...
But the country, the state is already bleeding in terms of money. How do we do that restoration?
You don't need it. You see, these issues... Look, I'm on a major project right now. You're going to hear very soon. We had a big project, how to be able to put Wi-Fi, internet everywhere, so and so and so. Quietly. It's all need our friends, the policymakers, to shift small, let me use the Ghanaian balance. You see, what you have is money. Look, let me give you a case study about the UK many years ago. Margaret Thatcher needed some money. Who did he go? He didn't have any. It took Al Fayed to go to the Sultan of Brunei to bring money. I don't know where you were at that time.
Dodi Al Fayed?
Yeah, no, their father.
Right.
You see, and brought the money. And then he wanted Harlot. They gave it to him. He wanted the British citizens. Then I don't think they gave it to him. You see, there are a lot of ways to solve the problem. There are many Ghanaians. Look, I learned something 2 weeks ago, and I was so touched. Stanford University is sponsoring and supporting Ashesi University.
Right. Stanford
University, the seed program, Nyaho, hospital expansion, and many, many more quietly, in Ghana here. And it's Ghanaians who are leading the US. MasterCard Foundation says, it's there. So let us, look, if you look at the Ghana card or the ECOWAS card, whatever you call it, on that card is a chip. I'm in technology business. That chip is more than enough to transform Ghana, to be able to be, visa economy or whatever you want to call it. You see, look, the intellectual property rights in Ghana is a lot. Instead of worrying about all this, let us have, those of us who know or who knows, let us bring them on board. Look, if you go to Cisco, Facebook, there are a lot of Ghanaian brains there. You see, Google,
all of them, they're there.
Let's go back and re-engage them like we were engaged. This is all I've been saying. I can give you many names.
So part of the solution we're failing to, and I appreciate what you're saying from the standpoint of brain drain, because it's still happening. At the first quarter of this year, 3,000 nurses left. If you look at professionals in accounting, in marketing, in medicine, in engineering, I have friends in all these areas who are leaving the country.
Yeah.
And you ask yourself how we're going to develop on the back of that. But then it also means that apart from our failure to rope in the youth in the diaspora and in Ghana, to whom the future belongs anyway, we also have that problem, like you cited, with public-private partnerships. It appears we're not getting it right. In our capitalist economy, how do we get it right from that angle?
Ben, the president, my president, your president, my big brother, talk about something very major. African Continental Trade Agreement. Look, have you ever had time to read the agreement? All the solutions are there. But you know what? The foundation or the key for that one is Ghana Trade Authority. It's lock and key right now.
I see.
It's lock and key. There's bullshit there. Somebody said we're going to build something, $1 billion, flew my president to Dubai, announcing it. The key, the foundation for African continental trade is a trade fair. Let's begin the journey. Look, people cannot come to Accra to show their goods, their capabilities to anybody.
It reminds me of the 90s and how vibrant the trade fair.
Yes, I was the president with the Indotech. We sent goods to the West Africa. Look, we were in Burkina Faso one day. I led a delegation, motorbikes, police motorbikes, all the way to Burkina Faso border. Apia Makers pulled 2 containers in half an hour. Kpenoe soap.
Wow.
In half an hour. We crossed the Burkina Faso border. We got into the fair, and they were so amazed what we did. And then the next day, I collected goods and then thanked the commissioner for custom for allowing us to get in there. We have reputation and continue to have reputation. Let's fix it. Look, I'm calling all my friends, whatever they knew, let us get back together, forget about the problem, let's give the little back we have left in the system to support the president. We must support the president. He's our president. I don't want to worry about parties or, look, NDC and NPP. It's nothing that has gone back to your grandfather's now. We registered it in 1992. You know, they're not all parties. They are cousins as far as I'm concerned. I mean, NDC, same dates.
In any case, if we don't look past party, we all suffer because it's the nation that will suffer. And if things work out well, it works out well for all of us.
Yes.
They work out well.
Look, President Mahama, President Akufo-Addo, they went to Parliament the same day, they said the same, are they enemies? Of course they are not. Vice President Bawumia, Alan Chinemende, who are vying, they are young, they are brothers. So President Akufo should call them, to lunch on Saturday or Sunday. Let's fix it. All I'm saying is that let's find a way to restore. Look, I was invited by the church council the other day. I was surprised I had a call. I don't want to mention names because if we are not sensitive. I ran to East Legon to an institute. Those pastors who went to Galamsey
sites, prayed there.
Prayed.
Yeah.
The
Christian council.
They didn't go to pray. They went to find solution.
Right.
Then, when I got that meeting, I was amazed to see, people from the UN, climate change, professors from climate change, from outside. They flew in the country and we had a big meeting as to how to resolve those issues. That was their intention to go. Of course, they are pastors, so they have to pray, whatever. But the intention of resolving that matter is Galamsey. Look, we were at the cyber place, Galamsey. Why are we sending soldiers to Galamsey when it's a cyber problem? Look, we are Kenyans. Look, I grew up in California. California many years ago was a gold rush, same thing. Paul Getty, Howard Hughes. So Stanford established a university, we are told. So Stanford brought the kids from the gold site into San Francisco, transformed them to Palo Alto. Today, the money for the U.S. is from San Francisco, Silicon Valley.
Silicon Valley, right.
Your business creative art, they created Hollywood, unargumented, Shatta Wale and all of them, they went there. See,
how can we do same?
It's easy. It's easy. You see, look, these things are not difficult. KNUST, when you go to KNUST, look, when you go to, I'm doing a project right now, KNUST is about 100,000 students. University of Ghana, 100,000 students. When you go to free research, Akufo-Addo managed to attract a lot of brilliant Ghanaians in the system. I've been meeting them for the last 3 months. But the political layer over and above her is too heavy for them to function. You understand? So when you go and meet them and you listen to them, they don't know why they're here. See, we were given opportunities. All I want to say is that we were given opportunities by the revolution. It was guns going around, but they arrested, but they released us, but we did things. So today, the president is crying, as far as I'm concerned, what I've seen on the TV is crying, asking his supporters, don't let me make noise so that the money run away. Let's protect the money. You can translate it how you want. So my view basically is that we need to be able to get back together. All those Christians, please, let's forgive them, whatever they have done. Look, so that we can restore whatever license they have, let them go and do whatever they have to do, and let's see how we can resolve. And we need their brains. We need, see, this business, when you call somebody, they'll probably call Christian still, they'll call Kofi Annan still, or these guys who have been the financial services still. What do we do? What's your opinion? You don't know where they got the capital from. Let's get our people back. Look, Brazil, see what is happening in Brazil. You see, people want to go back to the past. Look, I was in India when I was president of India, and I asked the minister of technology at that time, what is all this success of Indians? You know what he told me? So, well, Prince, we don't want the unemployed to come and park in Delhi. So we asked them what do they want to do so that we can bring the students. So they want to do IT. They want to do IT. So they began the journey, they listened to them, and they start providing whatever infrastructure that are required. And then today, 90% of the CEOs in the world are all Indians.
True. It's actually something I have noted down that I'm going to be sharing on Friday, including the CEO of Britain.
Yes.
Yes.
Even the mayor of Britain.
Yes.
The mayor of Britain also.
Yes.
It's from there. You see, I'm a marketing student. Look, many years ago, there was a story of Bata shoes coming to Africa. The first consultant came.
The Czech company.
They said there's no market in Africa because Africans don't wear shoes. 2 years later, another consultant came. Oh, there's a big market for shoes in Africa because Africans don't wear shoes. So Kwame Nkrumah and others brought the branded Atebubu sandals and all of them, and it happened. This VALCO matter is a key thing because the foundation is Kaiser Aluminium to the United States of America. So you cannot joke with the foundation of it. You see, you can see just the workers, but no, it's the foundation of all these mineral things. I think bio-return.
And even if I may just interject, you want to build a country. You're talking of aluminium. You're talking of steel. No country industrializes without these. I mean, it's a no-brainer. It's common sense. So if there's fire on that mountain, there's fire, and that is why I've also been harping on that situation there. And you say it must be resolved within a week because that is like the bedrock of any country.
Everything, the whole country. You see, look, I mean, Akpafu, they are talking about, the Tiwa forest. That's the foundation. The whole mineral law was carved. We started 8 years ago, around that VALCO thing. You see, when you look at the history, you look at the document, it's still viable, amazing. You see, Nkrumah went to the U.S. where he was talking, the Badema was meeting Kaiser, and then one thing led to the other. They gave me a piece of land, and I'll give you money, and the VALCO was created. Those are histories. You say, look, there are a lot of things I believe that we can do. But first of all, let us bring restoration. Everybody should stop being angry. Everybody should be not worry. What do we do? Whether the pastors or whatever, the preaching in the church must change, whatever. Yes, we apologize. The dollar is 20 to 15. Does not matter. How do we solve it? How do we create more jobs, quality jobs? How do we solve the Galamsey market? KNUSC, I thought they should move in there. The budget for the army gave to KNUSC and Takwa School of Mine. Let them go and get those kids from there, put them into school, educate them, fly them to wherever they want to go to, and resolve their problem. But when you talk to the Galamseyers, look, when you Google Galamsey, it's illegal money. There's nothing to it. You see, when we had AGI president and we took AGI, went to Obuasi Takwa, look, even the town of Obuasi. I'm sorry, my village, I'm sorry, at that time, even the comment was even better. The gold is there. My father was a chief. The chiefs are in charge with their gong to solve problems in their communities. You see, so when they pray, when they meet the head of chiefs, the chiefs will accept, build their gong. Look, as I'm forced to go there, all those who are doing Galamsey, so and so, I want them at Palace 10 o'clock, they will be there. You see, this whole issue, I think we are doing too much academic, too much big English, too much. Look, I want to, when we were in the village, I don't know we took a vehicle to go to Kumasi on excursions.
Right.
Art Council, Art Culture, Garden City. I was there 3 weeks ago for a meeting at the Art Council. I'm sorry to say what I wanted to say. I mean, if people are making money in Ashanti from Galamsey, they should go and resolve it. They should remake, Kumasi, the Garden City, with the wealth that they are making, whatever they call it. You see, these issues are not that difficult to do. They should invest in those areas so that we can make the environment clean. So, Volta region, one of the major things about the Volta Development Forum, when the crisis came, was in Togoland, whatever it is. We moved in, many people, we suffer, we struggle. Today, 20-25% of Volta region has come up in terms of tourism, Oxygen City and all of them. It's happening. You see, when you go to, I took a delegation to Keta when the tidal waves came. Right. And we took pictures, and then we sent it to one of our partners in Florida. There was a conference there, Ben. The Sultan of, the ruler of Dubai was there. When it was projected, they didn't see the tidal wave. They saw the beach, they saw the sea, they saw the environment, and they're interested. You see how they looked beyond the problems, the tidal waves, and looked at the solution. And I thought, look at the solution. So let us look at the solution. The president has come to us. All the busting is wasting too much of airtime. See, some of the points, when I hear them at my president, I said, are you talking for the president or you're talking for yourself? Look, if you are a president, look, Ben, I don't care whether the students, it's not uneasy. You may not get the right information. Rawlings went through it. Kufuor went through it. So please, those who have the president, tell him the truth. Be honest with him. Don't let him down.
Right.
Let's sustain. Look, me, if you have a proposal, the $1 million that are left for the constituencies, let's make sure that we identify. Even me, I can move in today and transform the whole country with that $1 million equity for the district to a new layer. All the people. Look at all your people here. They came from the villages. Everybody's nice here. I came, everybody recognizing me. So let us use at least the $2 million that are left for each district. Let's focus on that one. What can we do with it? You don't have to pay for it. What are the projects that will go to your community so that profit-making leverage so that we can move it and then...
Staying on the trajectory of profit-making, let me just take a bit of a pause with this message coming through from Abdul Fattah on our live stream. Okay. And he says, good morning. Thank you so much, Dr. Klujasin, for your words this morning. Honestly, it nearly brought tears to my eyes looking at the kind of brains we have here in Ghana. But we've made politics to take over everything. And now it's leading us into a collapse. I hope and wish Mr. President will hear you and truly call you guys on board to save us. The other day, I saw a story about 5 Ghanaian factories that could have transformed our economy. And so it talks about the Akosombo Textiles Limited. So textiles, our textiles industry has almost collapsed. The Abosso Glass Factory, that's number 2. The Bonsa Tire Factory, which I alluded to. The Gehok Fiber Products Company, and the Wenchi Tomato Factory. But look at the expanse that it covers. You're talking about tomato, so food, and everything we do, rice and stew. We are rice and stew people. I love it. I eat it. Alcohol, beverages, Gehok. The Bonsa Tire Factory. Tires and everything else in between. The Abosso Glass Factory, and then textiles. We practically had it all, and at the same time, we somehow lost it all. So I come back to the question, Doc. How do we get it back? Because it appears since the Fourth Republic, we've not found a solution. Look at Commander, the sugar factory. Look at the import of sugar every year. Just look. So what do we do? Because it appears we've done a whole lot of talk. The last time I heard any talk about the Commander sugar factory, it was said that, within a certain number of months, we would get it back. Till today, I've not seen anything. I mean, sometimes even we get tired of talking about the same old issues. You spoke about rice and the paddies and everything. How long has Aveime been there? How long have we been talking about the Aveime rice project and all of that? How exactly do we do this?
You see, Aveime, for instance, when we were beginning, one of my arguments, one of my intake at that time was that let's make the chief, the paramount chief of the area, the chairman of the company. Number one. Number two, let's get about 5 or 10% equity to the landowners of that place, so that they can own part of the land, part of the business. The cotton flew down, and all the things. See, look, the simplest setup for this business in Ghana today, I want to go back to 50 years ago. I want to go back to the next 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years. Parliament, let's say there's something going on. The chairman says some businessman, maybe it's me, I went to the place, talked to him to give him some money, to talk to all those issues, get the parliamentarian not to do it. It's not necessary today. The 275 parliamentarians, Ben, they should get together from tomorrow and discuss Ghana. We in Ghana, we need to claw back for the next generation, let them have money. The land belongs to us. They're now for our own. So we are saying that the laws of Ghana to say that all the Ghanaians they should be entitled to equity, even if you don't have money to them. So they can just take a piece of paper, I'm a Ghanaian, I'm entitled to 30% of my business. So if you have $1 million business coming, the businessman from Chamber, SBC, look, when we began the Aguta, look, in 1999, to 2000, there was a huge uproar of Guta, Aguta boys. They came from Germany. It was not easy. We championed it. I went and met them at Lungu at Adabraka. The current, is now the Council of State. We engaged them. Those guys, they have cash.
Yeah.
And the goal at that time, I brought them to AGI as associate members. The goal was that, see, when you have cash, you have equity, and all that will happen. They are those supposed to be moving to the factories because they know how to trade. So they should know equities and all of them so that they can be able to. You see, all these things about trade. Look, bank, they put their money, if you go to China, they put their money there, they run there, they use calculator to trade. Let us get some formality, to get those people, give them knowledge. You see, it's all about knowledge, man. Like I'm saying, if you look at the media today, the mediascape, look at the telecoms, we began, those days, the biggest growth is service. You see, let's get back there. See, all this commander factory business, if it's not working, it's not working. How do we do a new sugar factory that has no problems? The cost of establishing that may be about 50 or 60% lesser than what is happening right now. You don't need it, maybe, it's all up. People want to come and invest in Ghana. Look, I can tell you, give you names. Look, there is, in 2 weeks now, you're going to see a huge advert, coming right now. We are working to make sure every home in Ghana has a smart TV and Wi-Fi. Every home in Ghana. Because when you look at the 1.2 million kids in the free stage, all they need is a tablet and Wi-Fi. You look at NACOPS, you look at all of them, look at all of you. People don't need to go to university to be able to teach. They can stay home through, online and learn. If you go to Pentecost University, there's a brilliant vice chancellor there right now. We're trying to transform that place, to a technical university. All they need is connectivity. A whole new connectivity with smart TV. So a huge is going to happen right now so that things can begin. You know why? It's not about the TV. It's not about the Wi-Fi. It's not about the internet. When it happens, the major company like Google, Cisco, they start coming to your country and hiring your students.
Human resource.
Yes, I managed to get from Pentecost University, Cisco Academy, approved for them. You see, I was so enthused. They're going to train people all over there, and then Cisco will employ them and send it to wherever. So basically, these are the issues. Let's have conversation. What everybody knows, whoever everybody knows. I used to say the Ghanaians, we don't have billionaires. I spoke to some professors about 6 months ago. And this is what I said. Can you Google and name me 1 millionaire in Ghana approved by Google and Forbes? Just Google. Let me know who. Maybe Benjamin Akakpo is a millionaire approved by 0. We don't have any millionaire in Ghana, Ben.
At least not per.
You can only be a millionaire when you are accredited, when you are licensed.
So we have them, but we don't have them.
We don't have them. If you have them, it must be published.
Yeah.
You see, if you have them, so you don't have them, have 10 100 houses, have plenty of radio stations or whatever it is. We need to be accredited as millionaires. We need to accredit as rich people. We need to go about so that these problems we can be able to freely give. Dangote is building things. Because he allowed himself to go by the compliance. You see, you need to comply. You need to go by the rules of the game. Dangote said, I didn't have money until I went and wrote a check.
I've heard that story
before. To the house, and I put it on the table. So, wow, I have $10 million. I didn't know I was even, I sent it back to the bank. Richness is not about the mouth. It's not about big car. The rich, look, I got disciplined in the U.S. many years ago. That's why I am today. But the richest person in Chicago called Clement Stone was my biggest friend and my mentor. I met him at Sears Roebuck in downtown in a car driving. I said, Clement, what is this? He said, let's go. He went the cheapest shop in the U.S. And he said, well, I said, why don't you go to Casimir? He said, oh, same dollar. So I learned to be sober from that day till today. Look, Bill Gates, they come here. You don't know who, they just wear khaki t-shirt. Look, the biggest problem is the pot. You know what the problem with the pot is? If you reduce the duty today by half, people are paying. The long queue of boats that are parked there, they'll go back early and load and come back. And you go to the ports, all kinds of issues, security, whatever. It's just about paying money.
So we have quite a number of issues, and if we wanted to discuss all of them,
10 years.
we'll probably take the whole show and need another show and another show. But I just want you to conclude on this in just about 1 minute, if you can do it. We've spoken about so much when it comes to the AGI, Ghanaian industries, and what can be done. I look, for example, at diesel and where it is now, 23 cedis. Petrol at 18 cedis. And most of you in industry, you use diesel, whether it's conveying your material or whether it's your plants or generators, whichever way. If there were one thing you could say about industry and how it can feed into what Mr. President is calling for currently. Self-sufficiency and all of that. What would it be? One thing, and we wrap.
You see, the president knows the issues, and the AG, I know there are a lot of consultations going on. I'm very happy that he engaged them. All I want to say is that all of us should stop being politicians, supporting parties, and get back to AGI, Chamber, who we used to be, who we are, and focus on the issues and fix them. We can fix them, Ben. I'm telling you. We can fix it. I don't need to go to Jubilee House to do anything. When I go for I don't meet me anywhere, you greet me. When Jabahama meet me, you greet me. You see, we don't need to, all we need to do is that we are AGI, we are Chamber, let's fix it.
Let's fix it. Final words of Dr. Prince Kofi Klojesin, former President, Association of Ghana Industries. He joined us for a conversation right here on the AM show. We can only wish you the very best and hope that you'll be around for a very long time so we can tap into those very fine brains of yours. But thank you for the honor, sir.
Thank you very much, Ben. I'll meet you again later time.
Dr. Kofi Klojesin joining the conversation. We'll take a bit of a break, and when we return, there's a lot more. We'll also be engaging the Ghana Chamber of Mines right here on the AM show. Do stay. Welcome back on the AM show. We're going to be talking now about the National Intermines First Aid and Safety Competition 2022, put together by the Ghana Chamber of Mines. What's that all about? We'll be engaging our guests on that shortly. We have Nana Ando, who is an environmental consultant with the Ghana Chamber of Mines. We also have Philip Thompson, who is a health, safety, environment, and well-being manager at the Bogoso Prestea Mine. Nana, Philip, a very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining the conversation. I'll start with you, Philip, especially because of the role you play. What is it to do with this National Intermines First Aid and Safety Competition? How long have you done this anyway? How long has this been running?
Yeah, good morning, and thank you for hosting us. This competition has been in existence for about 43 years now.
43 years?
Yes. We started 1979. And it's a yearly affair. Every year
It's been held every year?
Every year. Every year. Last year we're here. We're here last year. We went to sister companies, and all the members went to different stations to also educate the citizenry on the program that we undertake every year. Yes.
And I know there are zonal aspects to the competition, and all of that. Can you throw some more light on that,
Yes.
Nana?
We have about 15 mining companies. Last year, we're talking about not Galamsey, talking about...
it's good you mentioned.
Yes, last year mining companies that we're dealing about. They are members of the Ghana Chamber of Mines.
Right.
And we've zoned them. There are 3 zones.
Okay.
So we carry out the competition among the zones. Then the zonal, those who win the zonal competitions are then together with another company which is going to organize. We'll have 4 of them coming for the national finals. We've gone through the zonals now. Now this week, Sunday, we're having the national finals between 4 of our companies. Yes.
So we are looking at November 3rd to the 11th, but we'll be getting into that. Yeah. So I know that when we have these sessions, definitely we also want to educate even those in the mining community. Yeah. And today we're going to be focusing on integrating health and safety practices into our everyday lives. That is the theme for today. Yeah. Why this though? Just give us a bit of a brief into this.
Safety, health and safety is part of our life. And if you want to live and enjoy your fruit of your labor, you have to always make sure that you are living safely. And as a mining company, in the ancient days, those days, no one wanted to work in the mine. So when the chamber came to being and started gathering the sister companies together, and then with also the help of Minerals Commission, with the laws that are governing the industry, we've been able to integrate and improve on our health and safety. So safety is part of us. In the sector or the chamber, if your health and safety systems are not strong, you can't be in there, because health and safety is part of our everyday life. And production, before you get your production, your safety has to be good, because every job has to be risk assessed and put in mitigation measures to ensure that every employee who is going to work there works safely and having a very safe environment to work.
For you, Nana, why are health and safety so important when it comes to the mining industry, the legitimate mining industry?
Yeah, very important because, I mean, we know very well that sound mines always operate in sound bodies. You need a sound body, and the sound body will depend on how healthy the person is. And just as my colleague stated, earlier on, so many years ago, some 40, 45 years ago, when I really joined the mining fraternity, people were not interested in working in the mine because the fatalities, the number of accidents were so much that people were not interested. So then it means that the mining companies have to really put all efforts to make sure that safety records are improved. And that's exactly what it is. So when we come to the competition, that's where we showcase for the whole world to know that at least the mining companies are very committed to these safety and health issues.
Speaking about commitment to health and safety issues, of course, we're talking about the mining industry now, but there's a lot that we can inculcate into our own lives, both at home and at work.
Yes.
Here at work, not just in the mine,
yes,
and at home as well. Tell us about some of them. What should be the outlook in that regard?
Okay, so the outlook should be a culture. Health and safety should be a culture. It should be part of your life. So when you are leaving home, you should have to put it in mind that whatever I'm going to do, I will do it safely. And then what is around you, what are the hazards and the risks associated with the job you are going to undertake. So as a parent or a father, if you are leaving home, you know you have to go and come back home safely. So everything that you do have to be risk assessed, and then you put in mitigation measures to ensure that you work safely. So safety should be a culture thing, or it's a culture thing. You can't...
Unfortunately, it's not part of our culture. Usually we talk about how poor maintenance is.
Yes.
You know, you go by certain parts of the country and you see our infrastructure and how they've been, you know, it has been poorly maintained and all of that. And even things belonging to private enterprise.
Yes.
So you ask yourself, where does that culture lie? Do we actually have that culture?
Oh yeah, we're improving. When you come to the mining sector, yes, we have really improved. I don't know, whoever has visited any mine in Ghana, you know, you will see, as soon as you get to site, you see that, yes, there is a culture here. Because there are certain things you will be doing out there that we cannot do there. Because of the culture that we have inculcated into our employees. So it is part of us, and you cannot do without that. So I always give an example as a parent. That you have a car, you are driving your kids to school. If you don't put on your seatbelt, your child will not learn how to even put the seatbelt on. So if you start from there, right from there, as soon as they sit in the car, they all buckle up. You are teaching them a culture.
It's example you're setting.
It's example that you are setting. So as a parent, you start from home. And everything that you do, you make sure that it is safely assessed and making sure that your kids are safe. The food they eat, how they play at home, how are things being put in place and all that. So it's something that we can do. And when we can learn from the mining companies, I think if we do that, we'll be able to improve in this country.
And Anna, that is part of why we're having this conversation. Best practices from the mining industry, I mean, even as you have these zonal competitions and national competitions, that we can also imbibe. Because truly, when you go to the mining companies, because of the high level of risk in the work that is done, there's a lot of health and safety, there are a lot of them that come to bear, mechanisms. But it appears at home. I mean, you would often hear of tragic cases of gas explosions at home. We use all of these. They're dangerous, but sometimes we don't even adhere to certain simple safety practices. So I guess that's a crucial area we ought to be looking at.
And again, my colleague just stated about what we do on the mine, but we extend that even into the communities that we stay in. You know, every mine is operating in a community. And so these safety measures are all extended. And in fact, we have even safety brigades, you know, bringing the community, forming some sort of safety brigades so that at least if something is happening, they will be able to you know, make a first attempt, you know, first aid or whatever it is. This is what the mine is doing. So we're not only concentrating in the mine, we're also extending to the communities. And by the competition, we want the whole country also to be aware that this is what is going on.
And I like how you've broadened the conversation because it brings me to my next question, extending this on a national level, but maybe with a focus on young people, because guess what? The future belongs to the young ones.
Yes.
How do we do this? What can we do to ensure that younger people feed on these best practices when it comes to health and safety so that we can have that culture that you speak of, which I honestly think is not exactly as widespread as we would want it to be?
Yeah, so as an industry, what we do is that we have brigades, as Nanando has said. So every company has clubs.
Okay.
Clubs, member clubs in the schools, in basic schools and SHS. So we go there to teach them basic first aid and safety practices. So as part of the competition, we also have the community aspect. So every company trained community members to represent them at the competition level, at the zonal and the national level. So in the past, some of the companies have used junior high school students. They train them and then they come to compete with the other sister mining companies. Aside that, we also organize essay competition for all the schools within our catchment communities. And then when they compete, we select 2 to represent the mine in that catchment community. And then we go to the zonal level, we write the essay competitions, and it's all about safety. So the pupils' research into safety, they are trained on how to practice safety, and then they come to write the competition. We finished with the zonal, as we said. So come Sunday, those who qualified for the nationals will be coming to also take the essay competition. Last year, we at the Ghana Mining Industry Award, we awarded the one who was first in that competition, first and second, and it was marvelous. Having that platform alone gives these kids that you know, confidence in going into future you know, positions. Yeah.
If I just add a little bit, we really interested in catching them young.
Right.
Yes,
that's the best way, isn't it?
Yes, that's why we've extended this thing to cover even, you know, writing essays and topics, you know, very topical topics about so that at least they get to know right from the beginning that there's a culture they also have to live up to. So we are very interested in that one.
Fabulous. To wrap the conversation, the National Safety Week is between the 3rd and the 11th, which is from tomorrow to the 11th. Tell us a bit about that as we wrap the conversation. I'll start with you, Philip.
Okay, so come Sunday on GTV, what do you do at 11:30?
Okay.
We are entreating the general public to tune on to GTV to watch us, just like the Science and Maths quiz that is organized on JoyNews here. Just tune in and see how the mining companies also answer questions and also do practical scenarios on first aid. So it's about educating the citizenry about health, safety, and then also first aid practices. So we want everybody to tune in there and see what the mining companies are doing, so that the perception that we are destroying the environment, we are killing people because our processes and our practices are not safe, is not so. So we entreat everybody to tune into GTV.
All right, we'll be coming on board. Nana, your final words.
When they come on board, you see scenarios which are, you know, which are performed on the TV, for certain cases, somebody gets involved in some accident or some incident or something, and then the demonstration is done to show exactly what happens, if a case should occur like that. So it's a very educative system we want people to see on Sunday. Just tune up and see how these scenarios are performed and competed for among the 4 companies.
You've piqued my interest already. All of us ought to be coming on board.
Yeah.
We had in the studio Nanando, an environmental consultant with the Ghana Chamber of Mines. We also had joining the conversation Mr. Philip Thompson, Health, Safety, Environment and Wellbeing Manager, Bogoso Prestea Mine. Well, right after this, it's time for you to get interactive with us. We'll take a little break where we return the numbers to call 0302 211 691 extension 2. So 0302 211 691 extension 2. Get in touch with us right after the break and let us know what you think about the matters we've been discussing this morning. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Thank you for staying. 0302-211-691 extension 2 is the number to call. I'm sure you have a lot on your mind this morning that you'd have to share with us. The number is on your screen, 0302-211-691 extension 2. Of course, starting the conversation off with Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, Director of Center for European Studies. He had a stake on what Mr. President had said in that address last Sunday. And we also had quite a lot to talk about from the papers on the economy, from diesel prices, fuel prices. Diesel now at 23 cedis, fuel at 18, depending on where you're going. What is your take on that? We also spoke about the VALCO situation where staff, non-managerial staff, are calling for, especially the retiree managers, to be axed from their job because they feel they are not performing and they are not giving the ordinary staff the right wages, so to speak, or conditions of service they deserve. It's a whole situation there, and the shutdown of the plant and the cost and everything we have to deal with. I had my interaction as well with Dr. Kofi Klugeson, former president of the AGI, and he had a lot to share. So what is your take? Let's start with Akonoba. Hello, good morning. Oh, unfortunate. We've lost Akonoba. If you're hearing me, Akonoba, please call back. Benjamin, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
My name is Benjamin too, so I'm excited to have you. What is your take on the matters we've been discussing this morning?
I don't want to talk really on the matter, but I'm a DAPCO beneficiary.
Benjamin, so can you speak up for me? I can't hear you too well.
Yeah. That is something like they are giving us only 1 month. And the whole 9 months is still in arrest.
So which group are you speaking of? You say they paid you for only 1 month.
Yes.
Which group? Which entity are you speaking of?
NAPCO.
Oh, okay. NAPCO. They paid you for only 1 month.
Only 1 month. Yeah, it's now left with 9 months.
9 months, right, left. Which of the sectors are you in? Is it?
I'm in Educate Ghana.
Educate Ghana.
Yeah.
Okay. Benjamin, so thank you for sharing your concerns with us this morning. So that's a bit off the tangent, but very relevant all the same. He's lamenting that he's on the NAPCO scheme. I know there are moves to get them to roll over and all of that, but he is saying they've been on it. That means practically throughout the year, and they've been paid for only 1 month, and it's left with 9 months because we are now in the 11th month. That's an interesting bit to put up. We also have David connecting. Hello, David. Good morning. Hello, David.
Hi, how are you doing?
I am well. David, you're calling from Adan. How is Adan this morning?
Oh, we are doing good. We are doing good.
Great. What are your thoughts?
I think this morning, in fact, can the government do something about the fuel for us?
You're asking government to do something about the fuel.
Seriously.
The what?
Yeah, I'm talking about fuel issue.
Right.
Get out of hand. We cannot make it. Salary is not good. So even the fuel that we can use to do 1 or 2 rounds, we buy the fuel. So where are we headed towards to? Where are we headed towards to? At least the government should do something about it. We are making the government.
Right, David.
But can we be buying for about 100 Ghana cedis? Are we crazy? What happens on us? Thank you very much.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts. If you're still watching us, David, and I hope you are, you do know that Mr. President spoke about getting, cheaper, whether it's crude or whatever, into the country. And apparently, outfits across the world are being contacted to secure that so that maybe prices can go down further. And of course, we all agree if prices keep going up like this, imagine the business person who has to use a generator or diesel for fueling his vehicles and purchasing a liter at 23 cedis. It's crazy. We also have Wisdom joining us from Atebubu. Wisdom, good morning. Thank you for joining. Hello, Wisdom. I think we just lost Wisdom on the line. We'll take one final caller or 2 more if we can do that very quickly. The number to call 0302-211-691 extension 2. That means you can call the 1 or the 2. So 0302-211-691 extension 2. What are your thoughts? Eric joins the conversation. Good morning. Hello, Eric, if you can hear me.
Good morning.
Good morning. Eric, you're calling from Accra. What are your thoughts?
Listening to the former director of AGR,
Dr. Klugerson, yeah.
Yeah, you just can't understand some of these people are in this country and they are not on board in terms of governance or contributing. And the people like Uforiata, Eko.
I think you would want to desist from, denigrating someone like that.
It's so disturbing to see such a person with such mind, such ideas, and not contributing to the development of Ghana. And it's so sad. And once again, my registration of my SIM card, I cannot use my NIA card. Anytime they try, they tell me it's invalid. I appeal to NIA to tell them this is a problem. And they tell my card is valid. So I cannot register. This is...
Wow. So wait. You're caught in between. You can't re-register your SIM card because the NIA registration portal tells you that your card is not valid. You go to the NIA, they tell you your card is valid. I know that there are a few people, when I spoke to the PRO of the NIA, who have that problem where the card is not valid and they have to issue a new card to you. But in this case, the NIA says your card is valid.
Yes.
Wow. That's quite a conundrum you have to deal with. I suggest you maybe find a way of linking the authority, the contact person at the NIA, to the contact person, maybe at the Communications Ministry or the NCA or something, so they can have a conversation about this situation, because this is rather curious. But thank you, Eric, for calling and sharing your thoughts. And we just might follow up with the NIA on that matter. I guess if we don't have any other callers coming through to share their thoughts, we just might call it a show, shall we? Okay. So on that note, we've had quite an interesting morning, and we're grateful that you took the time to be here. You made this your choice. It's always good having you. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. Do have a wonderful rest of the day. Don't you forget, JoyNews Desk is up next. We'll be informing you. So stay right here on this network. Have a good day.